But I want to take what Wiz said and kind of segue that into DJ Quick, because that's the first album we're going to talk about. About the misogyny and things like that. I know that's going to come up, but I definitely want to not table it because it sounds like we're dismissing it, but I think we're going to eventually get to that part of it because it's a blaring part of the album. But I want to pass it off to Track, if because this is an album that Track suggested. So maybe you could talk about why you suggested it and what this album means to you, or perfect personal feelings on it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the context that you guys brought to it because it 100% shows how I listen to music. I listened back to the music with 2020 ears, and it's still the most amazing album I heard. But I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" Like, just everything, but it also is 100%. I remember enjoying it in the same way. Like, I came to I was with Mike Baker and we were at the warehouse, and I think I bought this, and like I would have pulled it out. I forgot. I almost forgot we were doing this right now, and I still have the CD, and I have the receipt, and I remember buying it, and I took a chance on it. It was like just bought it, and I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, this is the most musical rap music I've ever heard. Like, it stuck with me like that. Bass lines, the keys, just everything live, and I think that this is the album I started my love of DJ Quick. He's in my top 5 ever, and I just feel like this album is going back to his older albums. Like, I could hear the musicality, but it was more like early '90s, like samples and like a lot of DJ Quick sounding. But this had the full band, and to the point where I was watching PBS back in the day. I was in high school, and they played Quick's Groove Number 3 as the PSA like music in the background, and I remember watching that like, this is DJ Quick from that album. Like, it was amazing. But yeah, I think when I think of this album, I think of the beef between him and MC8. I think of Dollars and Cents. It's a lot of game on the album, a lot of context, and definitely a lot of gangster shit. Like, like that's pretty much it. Getting money. I think it's a lot of songs on here, but that's I chose it because I remember how much it had a big impact on me, and just him also being a producer rapper. I followed that. You know what I'm saying? Like, always drawn to shit like that.
Oh. Yeah. Did anyone hear this album for the first time? This go around? Maybe you gotta talk about that experience.
Yeah, how was that experience?
Yeah, I listened to it for the first time. I mean, I'm familiar with DJ Quick, but his production mostly on other people's stuff. So I've always been a fan, but I heard some of the tracks, but I never sat down and listened to the whole album. And I mean, I know you wanted to table this conversation, but like, I don't know, it's kind of hard not to like mention if I'm gonna like talk about it. It reminded me of the fact that LA, to me, especially in that era when you're talking about NWA or you're talking about Snoop or whoever, misogyny in rap was there the whole time, but it was always wild to me just how smooth they did that shit. Like we're gonna be wild misogynistic, and that shit is gonna be cold as fuck. It's gonna be laid back. It's gonna be like, or comical, and like you're almost like it almost like contradicts how problematic it is because it's so chill. It's such a vibe, and I'm like really vibing out to some shit that is like just wildly problematic. But it also reminds me like just the production. I was a kid in my neighborhood who always went to LA, and everybody when I would come back, they'd be like, "Yo, what's LA like? What's LA like?" And that album like reminded me of like going to LA as a kid and the energy and the vibe and just like riding around. And it was just like, yeah, this is like what LA feels like. Like DJ Quick does an amazing job for people who've never been there to be like, yo, LA, this is that. Like, this is what it sounds like. This is what it feels like. So if you can get past misogyny, it's to me a great representation of the culture.
Yeah.
I mean, I was cooking dinner and I was like, wow, he really was teaching, like, stupidly teaching people that cunnilingus is bad.
Back in the day.
Like, oh my gosh, like what the heck? He said something about
That whole
pastrami
intro.
sandwich, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck is going
He
on?"
said you
Like,
can take your salmon sandwich somewhere else.
thank you. That was the line. Boy, gosh.
But I was like wondering what, like, I don't know, STDs were like in that era too when it came to that, because I know that there was a fear and a lack of education when it came to that too. So I was like, is that
he was also talking about, like, fantasies of hitting it raw and stuff like that. So there's
right at the same time?
exactly. So it was
Yeah.
very loose.
I mean, that's the thing too about the music. That's a great question, Randy, because the music at that time, the genre itself was young, right? And it was a young genre being created by young people, right? And I don't think that there was, when someone says like, who's the adult in the room, right? Who's the adult in the room? And it's like, this is a time of rap where it wasn't hella adults in the room. You know what I mean? It was just like, you just making shit. You think it's hella dope. It's mostly dudes. I mean, I feel like maybe it was like around the same time you did have people making more positive statements about, sex and health, right? You had Salt and Pepper, Let's Talk About Sex, right? You had A Tribe Called Quest giving like statistics, in their interludes. But like, man, this is just, the West Coast is just a different culture, like, and Quick is a different artist within that different culture, because he's so artist forward, but he marries the super hood with like the kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the Svengali type person. You know what I mean? Because he's like, I want to make everything bombastic and have, tight ass drums and guitars and shit. But he never divorced himself from the fact that he was from Compton in that way. So you just gonna get parts of the content that's just super duper problematic. You know what I'm saying?
I think that was a common thread in hip hop at that time though, because I think other rappers mentioned that sort of thing too. Like I remember,
I think it's a common thread in hip hop today too. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I'm saying, because Black Sheep, Drez said a line one time where he's like, I only go like when I go downtown, I'll stop at 42nd Street or something like that. Like,
okay, yeah,
it's
like, you're right.
Which again, it's like it's clever, it's catchy, but I think it's also like the idea of the power shift. Like you allow a power shift in one direction, but not the other way, because like if you do it the other way, then it's like, okay, well now you're the one that's the giver and not the receiver, so it's like, I think it also had to do with that as well. Like you didn't want to shift that power as a misogynist in that way.
Yeah, oral sex was a big thing, because I mean, he literally, if I never had a man suck my dick, but if you did, whatever gay would do, you know what I mean? So it was all a power dynamic. I remember hearing the Beating Up Street Level album, and they have a song called, with all respect, Eating Pussy. And that shit sounded revolutionary.
Yeah, it really was. It legit was.
Like, wow, man, really admitted to this? That's amazing. I mean, I was 15. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, like they were wilding out. They were wilding when they were saying that.
Like it becomes an interesting thing. Like when Quick dropped Quick Is the Name, like I was on the East Coast and I was just like, they're doing it out there like that. Like, okay. Like I was deeply impressed. Like I was excited about what he was doing. And, over time I just kind of lost track of it, and, songs would peak up, in mixtapes, or I'd hear them on the radio or something. But this album, I there were a couple of tracks that I was really familiar with and really dug it. It's interesting, like some people can pull off the misogyny and, these subject matters in ways that just so, I don't know, like it's so wild how they deliver it that you're just like, man, that nigga crazy. I like it, or they do it with such eloquence and craft that it's undeniably poetic. It's just like, okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And, then some folks are just I don't know, just awful. They're just shitty people, you know, and they capture the shittiness on the records. And sometimes that works and sometimes that is tough to swallow, you know? And, you know, I feel like in moments, I mean, I think Quick is brilliant. You know, Wiz and I had a discussion a while ago, like, who is the best producer that can rap? And like, without a doubt, I think it's DJ Quick. I'm 100% with you on that one. And so I know him to be brilliant. And I think in moments, like, he handles those subject matters absolutely brilliantly. And then I think in other moments, it's just like, you know, like the beat's hot, but like, I'm not really trying to hear what you have to say on this one. So, you know, I've always been a big fan of him and his work. And I've always been a big fan of him as a rapper. But I've always struggled with listening to his albums all the way through.
That's a good point. I was going to say, like, you know, outside of, you know, certain books and certain authors, like, rap music is the one place where I know that there are people who are going to express my exact experience as a Black dude, right? From the hood, from the mud, you know what I'm saying? And so it's weird because this album reminded me of something I always say, which is like, I try to delineate my privilege from my pain, right? So like, I know that a lot of the pain that I experience is expressed in rap music and everyone gets to hear it and be like, that happens. Like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? But this album reminds me, it's like my privilege too. Like, I don't have to listen to this album and be like, oh, that feels weird. Or it just makes me feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't make me feel as uncomfortable as I would imagine a woman would feel. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy because it does jump out at you when you get to those parts of the album, because it's in parts. You know what I'm saying? He has specific songs where that comes out. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I can't say also that listening to him still at the time having funk with MC8 was still something that was like, damn, you know, like niggas was funking at the time. It would have been better if they wasn't funking at the time. And, you know, but everybody was super into it. It was like wrestling or boxing, you know? So it's like, I feel the same way about that as I do about the misogyny too, right? Because it's like, shit, you know, like there was a space where things could have been more positive. And I think I really do understand, and Haleen knows it more than I do, and anybody else here that grew up in Los Angeles knows it more than I do. Like, that was a time when, you know, gang violence was on some real shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not that it's on some not real shit now, but it ain't the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'll never know how that feels to be like, I can't wear this article of clothing when I'm going from this part of the town to that part of town. We just don't have that in the town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and truth be told, I mean, just so I can speak on that for a second, I mean, like, although I grew up in LA, I didn't really experience that as much because I grew up in Ladera. So Ladera's a lot. It was a nicer neighborhood in a sense. So I didn't really experience the LA that Quick is talking about, you know. And truth be told, I mean, growing up in Norwalk, you probably saw. I mean, there was elements of it probably in Norwalk that reflected that because Norwalk is right by Compton, right? Or close to it.
Yeah, it's right by Compton. It's a predominantly Mexican community, though.
Yeah. But it's like it's still like although I grew up in LA when this album came out, I was still removed from that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing for me too, because like there was an epic era for LA music right around that time. Like it was such an important era. And it was something that I could appreciate, but I didn't grow up in LA. So that culture was really foreign to me. And, you know, I didn't, you know, I grew up, you know, hood adjacent sometimes. And so, you know, my life wasn't, you know, defined, or parts of my life weren't defined by those circumstances that they talk about in the music. But on the East Coast and in the neighborhoods where I lived, there was a different kind of gangster that was happening that I could imagine, I could visualize. And the way it was described in the music I grew up listening to, I could connect with. And so like the LA thing was so alien to me. You know, I'd see it in the music videos, but I couldn't feel it and hear because I didn't experience it. So it was interesting to see, but I didn't emotionally connect with it. And this is one of those albums that came out around that era that I didn't have an emotional connection to because of that. Like, you know, I'm not a gangster. I'm pretty square. But there's some gangster shit that comes out that you're like, you cannot deny that is amazing. You know, MOP comes and you're just like, yeah, I'm all the way for that.
Because Quick wasn't the type to run up in your pockets like that. Quick was, he was literally like if it was like P-Funk landed in Compton and was a blood. Like he was giving you all the musicality and like, you know, even on this one more, he would have people from P-Funk like actually be participating in the making of. But he was still wearing red on the album cover. He was shouting out, like you said, things that would maybe go over your head if you're not from the area. But he's shouting out Treetop Pyrus and Spruce Street, and actually, you know, going through and naming things that if you're in the area, you know of in various ways. And his thing, I think, wasn't so much, you know, the violence was there. I mean, he was dissing 8 all over this album. He dissing AMG. But he does it in a way, you know, funny. He has these little phrases, like he reminds me a lot of like 40, where he'll just say something that kind of sounds ridiculous, but like the way he put, you know, like the way he put it on there was good. But then also, you know, he was always down with Sugar Free, and so you could see like there's that whole little run where it's like I got 3 songs in a row. It's like Eating Pussy, and then 3 songs in a row about, you know, putting you out on the strip and bringing me back my money. Like he runs into that like pimp area, which I think was popular for a minute, but yeah, now it's a little bit cringy in retrospect. But
I think you're making an important point though.
It's the time.
Yeah.
No, I think you're making an important point there though about.
Ahead, Paul.
Oh, sorry. I was saying I think
Go
you're
ahead,
making
Paul.
a really important point there about the delivery and like the P-Funk sound, because I was like randomly playing Niggas for Life, NWA's second album, and I was like, oh, I can't listen to this shit anymore. Like they're talking about like overt rape. Like, yeah, this shit is like horrible. Like this is disgusting. But like it's not like it's not as if like Quick is like that far off, but it's the delivery, it's the vibe that makes it somehow like more kind of like acceptable, but it's not. It's really it's still really bad. But it's the energy behind it with the P-Funk vibes. It's just like, oh, this feels different. When in reality, they're all coming from the exact same space. And it's fast. I think it really speaks to the power of like production and of music, that you could say whatever the fuck you want. If that shit is cool, and we'll rock with it. Which, again, I'm speaking as a man from a perspective of privilege, but even so, like, shit kind of knocks.
Well, and I think it's also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, Randy, go ahead.
No, I was just saying to that point, like, you know, even till this day, you know, music is coming out and women are being disrespected left and right, but if the beat is fire, right, we're still like, oh, okay, yeah, fuck bitches, like, slap that bitch, you know? Like,
well, Chris Rock did a bit about that. If you remember the Chris Rock, like, he ain't talking about me. Like, that's a real thing. Like, he ain't talking about me. You know?
But I think that's also where I'm coming from, is like the mind of the person who's creating this. Like, there are certain people who can take these subject matters and make them more than acceptable. Like they can make them part of the story of life, or they can make them part of the energy of the night, or they can just make that shit trashy. And like it's who is the artist that's behind the delivery of this? And you know, as I said, like I'm a fan of Quick, and I know how brilliant he is, and you know, musically speaking, like his production work is beautiful, like on so many things that he does, even songs that I'm not like into. I'm like, yeah, he's amazing. But it's also the mind in which he delivers it. Like, you know, some of the narratives that he has on these songs, he's, you know, the song Tonight, for instance, like that's a fun song to listen to, and you're on a journey with him, and he talks about scuzzy stuff and bad behavior and all of that stuff, but you've probably been to a party like that, and so you go on the journey with him, and you feel it, and he's so eloquent with it, and he knows how to craft a story like Slick Rick style, where you know you are in it with him step for step, and so I give him tons of credit for that. Other artists don't have that artistry to be able to bring it out to you like that, and so that's where there's a difference, where you know it's a, he ain't talking about me kind of moment, because like it can be delivered in the right kind of way.
Yeah, I think storytelling is. Oh, where do you want to go?
I just want to ask someone a question before the track goes. I want to have a music question in here, a music-based question, and I would love for you guys to throw your answers in the chat as well too. So that way we can make sure we hear everybody's response to this while other folks talk. Jason Nichols mentioned earlier that we had a conversation over who is the best producer that can rap. I would love for you all to give your opinion about that and drop that in the chat. Who do you think is the best hip hop producer who also raps? So yeah,
Nice.
And go ahead, Trap.
Oh yeah, no, I was saying I think that's why this, because we are spending a lot of time on the content, and I know it's because of how good of a storyteller he is. It just completely draws you in. He raps a movie. That's why everyone touts Biggie. Like, you can see his raps. You can see everything he's talking about. That's what Quick is doing, but it's so visual in this Los Angeles culture that it's too real for TV. You know, it's too real for TV sometimes. But his it's just so visual. I think that's what you know is in everybody's face. You know.
I just want to say, Mike Q-Tip is a rapper who can produce. So again, the best producer who can rap, because their primary their primary job is you have to put money on their success as a rapper or producer. You know, their primary job and what they're primarily known for. I don't think that's fair to other, like, that's not fair to Pete Rock if we put Q-Tip. Q-Tip obviously can eat this nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but I mean,
Odyssey's
you know, before Q-Tip was a known rapper, he was still producing all of the 3 first Tribe albums. You know what I'm saying?
No, but he was a rapper on there. We thought of him as a rapper.
I know.
Most people didn't know he was producing that shit to the end.
Exactly. Very true.
Every rapper at some point produced something if they was around.
If you eat a slice of pizza upside down, it's still eating a slice of pizza.
I'm just saying, there are people who people go to for Diamond D. He's a producer.
My number 2. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait. So
Diamond D is a producer mostly, but he can rap.
But he's not.
We need to make a decision, because if Tip is in the category, then I'm going to use him.
Yeah, no, Tip is definitely.
All right, well then I'm going to use him.
in that category.
I hear what you're saying.
Rapper that produces, he's not a producer that raps.
No.
Like, I don't
disqualify.
say I need Q-Tip beats. We all want. I don't ever hear anybody say like, "Yeah, I need some Q-Tip beats." They're all amazing when you hear them.
I don't know.
Don't think of him.
I'm a veer back to.
We need a breakout session for this one.
Yeah. We can start this afterwards.
Can we make a breakout room?
We gotta have that congressional committee.
Can I ask you guys one question? What sport does Randy Moss play in? Did he play in?
Football.
Okay, but he hooped too, right? But we know him as a football player.
Yeah, but
what sport did Bo Jackson play? What did Bo Jackson play?
Exactly. If Randy Moss was nice at basketball the way Bo Jackson was nice at baseball and football, we would talk about him the same way.
Yeah,
Deion
All
Sanders.
right, look. Okay. All right, look. Y'all gotta,
Nice at whatever he played. Randy was nice at the 50-yard dash.
You know what?
High jump. Randy was a
Randy
freak.
Moss didn't produce Queen's Get Money.
I'm just saying, look.
I would like to think everybody is democratic or in this, but you know that when you hear certain producers and they get on the mic, you be like, I don't want to hear it, because you look at them as a producer.
But I just want to say, we can keep Q-Tip in. Just when he gets ate up by another producer, it's not going to be.
I think I say this because I don't consider. Yeah, I mean, I don't consider. Usually, when you say producers that rap, you'd say that their productions are significantly greater than their rap, the shit that they do rapping. But I consider DJ Quick's raps up there. So I don't, like, I'm still considering him a rapper that produces, because when Tonight came out and I was like, 11 years old or some shit, like, he was rapping. I didn't know he was a producer yet. So I've always considered him a rapper first.
That's true too.
All right. So I want to say this. So since Mike brought it back to this, here's a question for everyone. And you can drop this in the chat too, so that the next person who wants to talk can talk. Is Quick a better producer or a better rapper?
See, and that's a hard one.
That's a tough one. Well, I definitely want to hear from the folks that haven't spoke yet. So I know Josh hasn't spoke yet. I know Rob, you haven't spoke yet. So I definitely want to get some insight from you guys.
I mean, like, if I had to answer right now, I'd say producer. Because, like,
Yeah, on this or anything else in regard to the album too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other points you have?
Put it in
Yeah,
the chat.
any other points as well.
Better producer in my eyes.
For me,
I have to say it.
oh my bad. I just wanted to get some thoughts off about the album.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I want to reel it back to the album.
So like for me, being from Michigan, you know, I listened to Quick. I think the first time I heard Quick was probably on like, I want to say it was like Put It On Me, the single with Dre, that they put out together. And then I went back and listened to his stuff from the 90s because I'm a 90s baby. I was born in 91. So I wasn't listening to the music in that time. But for me, it was like Quick is one of my top 5, like, you know, when I like me testing people about LA rap knowledge, you know, everybody knows the Dre's and the Snoops, but if I want to see, you know, if you can go a little deeper and name a Quick record or name a Quick album, you know, that's always something that I check for. He's always been like one of my top unsung heroes, you know, and just underdogs in this shit, because I personally believe that he's as good of a producer as Dr. Dre. I think he creates the like as full and as lush and as sonic of a landscape as Dre does. So I just want to give him his flowers in that regard. And I think that Safe and Sound is his best produced album. I think, you know, that and Balance and Options are probably my 2 favorites, but I just love Safe and Sound for one. Let me just say, you know, I went on the Wikipedia for the album just to see if there was anything I didn't know about it. And I had no idea that Suge Knight executive produced this record, even though he wasn't on Death Row at the time, but Suge still did that. So that kind of just goes to show like the respect that he had, you know, amongst his peers in the game at that time. So, you know, Safe and Sound is my favorite of these 3 records. And he is, you know, by all accounts, one of my favorite producers. And I don't like him as much as a rapper, but, you know, he has never dropped a whack album. So
he also gave Danny Boy the greasiest shout out ever.
He did.
Like he called him like a scrawny and shout out to that scrawny singing whatever, you know, and I was like, damn, that's messed up. But I would be so sad if that's the only shout out I ever got on a record by someone.
Me personally though, Jack, I feel like the Sacred Sound album is the predecessor to his maturity as a man and an artist, because you see like, okay, he's like, all right, I'm gonna get this gang banging shit out the way. I'm gonna start talking about this because I feel like when they took that when they got the Confunction beat and they kind of like Too Short, Don't Fight the Feeling.
Yeah.
When he took that beat, I can't think of the song right now, but
you talking about Can I Eat It? Can I Eat It?
Yep. And then you think about what's going on in the town. Well, that year you got Gideon Where You Fit In, a whole bunch of other albums. The Roots was doing their thing, but most importantly, I felt like they was getting at DJ Pooh. I mean MC Pooh a little bit too. You can remember, Funky As I Want to Be, he was like, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of bold for my brother to do. You feel me? Talk about the Cunnilingus and all that other stuff and be like, yeah, I do it. I put it on the album, and they dogged that brother up and down. And I feel like that was a California thing, like, bro. You better tell all the homies to reschedule your thinking. But but I feel like, I also feel like it was him becoming more of a producer and again maturing, because that next album is like he puts down the beat, he puts down the gang banging, he dang near put a C in his name. You know, you start thinking about like, oh, he may put a C quick, you know what I mean? Right. Because of the maturity, he's like, man, let's do an album together. Right? You know what I'm saying? When Biggie got shot, I'm not the gangster y'all was talking about, and the damn sure ain't the gangster in there that shot him. So, you know, I feel like that was like, okay, his age as an artist became mature, and you saw the produce like those last 2 tracks. Who was the dude? He let pretty much just have the last 2 tracks on that album for Safe and Sound. So I see maturity in that funny goofiness and the gang banging and all that other stuff. You know, that homeboy talk kind of like he washed it out of his system. And when rhythmalism came, he gave it to us.
Yeah.
And I will say, like when we're talking about the diss track, just to add reference to that, or just to add context to that. I mean, that diss was just, I mean, that was the ether of the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, to say, you know, EIHT, you know, shall I continue? Let the G out because the G ain't in you, like that. Like people were just like, and then
just put that to the group.
In front of the Source Award.
Right. And that was
also a diss track with like great production.
Right. Because there's very few
listenable.
There's very few diss tracks that are also dance tracks too, and I think that was one of the unusual combinations of diss and dance tracks, you know. And then so I just thought that should be noted as well, and just also the Theo line saying like you weigh 92.3 pounds, because Theo was a popular DJ on 92.3 The Beat in LA. So when he said like, I'm gonna call you Theo because you weigh 92.3 pounds, like that was like, damn, this shit, you full got him, you know. So that just to add reference, like that was no Vaseline, that was ether, like that was as and like you said, the Source Awards, that was the Death Row got something, or the South got something to say Source Awards, you know, with, you know, Death Row, you know, the Snoop Dogg, you know, dancing the videos, all that shit. Which Questlove calls hip hop's funeral, which I think is a great name for it. He calls that hip hop's funeral. So
he's so extra with that shit.
He really is. He really is. But
it's like calm down.
But it is an interesting turn, and like that night was a very interesting.
Like we just stopped getting rap music after that night.
Yeah, it is extreme, but
like it's just been zombie. It's been like a George Romero Night of the Living Dead ever since 94 or 5.
No, but it was a completely different sound. Like I always have like internal conflict about it too, because I feel like, at least from my experience, and I'm not well researched in it, but like the misogyny, I feel like that's where it just like cranked up a notch when it came to the gangsta hip hop on the West Coast. Like coming from New York, right, and all of these different artists, Tribe Called Quest, and for it to make this transition, it brought a different tone to hip hop and what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I
see
think
what you're saying from a content perspective.
From content, right?
And I think it was, you know, speaking to what Paul was saying about Niggas for Life, there was sort of this one-upping of like who could be the raunchiest, and like because when Niggas for Life came out, I mean, yeah, like Paul said, it's like, I mean, Dre was like, you know, then I had to smoke the hoe, you know, it's like you're talking about like killing with, like you're talking about like murder, like that shit is crazy, you know. So I think that was like, okay, let me just turn this up a notch, and like, not saying Quick did that, but like there was this level of like who could be the dirtiest, who could be the raunchiest.
Do you think Akadeli was just like sitting in Queens, like, oh man, I gotta just do it, just beat everybody, and just come, and he hit up Large Professor and was like, I got the idea, put it in your mouth, and Large Professor hang up on him like, shut up, pause.
95, that's what it was. It was definitely ratcheting up, and then you know everybody had to have a moment. When did Pocket?
Yeah, the music, the genre was 16 years old.
Yeah, just like
so we're talking like the genre was going through puberty, no pun intended. You know what I'm saying? The as a culture, being able to, because you know, as a culture, we was saying things, and I always say we because again, I feel like the accountability part of me never wants to divorce myself from the culture that creates this music because, again, I always feel like we're talking about my culture, right? We're talking about Quick. If I was from LA, I'd be where Quick is from. You know what I'm saying? And the story that Josh just told about Short disses MC Pooh, right? Who had a song celebrating cunnilingus at the time, right? and it becomes this whole thing in shorts in his timeline where he divorces himself from being, you know, from being down with there was one artist that was a major artist that was down with Dangerous Music. So it was a time where this, I mean, as I said, concurrently you have A Tribe Called Quest talking about STD and HIV rates in the Black and brown community. You have Salt and Pepper doing Let's Talk About Sex, Baby, right? And it's none of your business if I want to, you know, take a guy home with me tonight. It's none of your business, right? And then you have, you know, all of the West Coast artists being hella vulgar and being nasty, you know.
But
and this is what it is.
Hold on, no. Everybody on the East Coast is doing the exact same thing too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But no, to my point though, to my point, but Jason, but to my point, what I'm saying is that everybody is always doing the same thing, but that's the regional difference is how everyone does it. Like, for instance, I had a mentor who was from Grand Rapids, right? He moved to Oakland. And he used to always be like, man, we played the dozens, we would snap in Michigan, or in the East Coast, because he had family in New York. He was like, and we would do your mama jokes and stuff like that. He was like, but we stop after a certain point. He's like, for some reason, you guys out here, you guys don't stop. You start going, you going a little bit beyond. And I know this myself too, because I come from the Navy SEAL family of roasting and snapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I when he said that, I was like, damn, that's kind of true. Because I think about all the East Coast rappers I know, and East Coast rappers was before it was sub-tweet, they was sub-diss. You know what I'm saying?
The Wild West.
But like over here, people will be like, yeah, he lives at 2583 this street and go get him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, damn, bro, come on now. Like,
it definitely felt like it's more of a stylistic choice in terms like misogyny was everywhere, but it was like how you went about it. Because even like, again, like when I mentioned before, like I was going back and forth from the East Coast to LA. The thing that was most triggered to me when I went to LA for the first time at like 10 or 11 was I was wearing a Bulls jersey because Jordan is 95, 96. And my uncle being like, yo, you can't wear that on this block. And I was staying in Compton at the time. And I'm like, I'm 11. What are you talking about? Like, somebody gives a fuck about what I'm wearing. It's like, you don't understand. You can't wear it on the block. And it surprised me how much there's palm trees, there's sunshine, there's beaches, but you could also get murdered right outside your apartment. And I think LA music is always really identified that way, where it's like, it's cool shit, but we're saying wild shit on top of it. And to me, that's always been like the LA that I like grew up going to, was just this like, man, this is like the cool beach in Hollywood, but like it's really not that safe.
To Paul's point, yeah. No, go ahead, finish your point.
No. That's what I was saying.
I was gonna say, to Paul's point, I remember Christmas going to my aunt's house, who my uncle, who she had married, was from Los Angeles, right? And my brother we got Pendletons, for whatever, like these shirts for Christmas, and my brother's was blue, right? And he was like, hey, what are you doing with that? What are you doing wearing that one? You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't understand. We were in Pittsburgh, California, but he didn't understand that, like, where Juan is from. He didn't understand that there was no conception of that the color would mean anything to us. You know what I'm saying? Just somebody had bought it for my brother for Christmas. My brother didn't even get to see it. You know what I'm saying? And that really clued into me, like, damn, like it's serious down there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people really take this serious. But not to get too far afield, like, I just wanted to make sure anybody else who also had any musical points about this album got a chance to speak about musical things.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just listening back to the album. You know what? I didn't really give it as much of a shot as I should have. I was a big fan of Quick Is the Name and Way Too Funky, but I think I kind of fell out around that time. But I started DJing in about 95, 96, and when we were doing the parties, Summer Breeze was always in rotation. So that was a really good early memory. But listening back to it completely, really musically, you just see, man, Quick was just at his pinnacle, because he had great sample choices, but employing all the live instrumentation, and everything fit perfectly. And then to also have Larry Blackman from Cameo, Bernie Worrell, I forget who else he had, but like, wow, like, and this dude is probably like early 20s, mid 20s. Just like, that's just brilliant work, man. And I didn't appreciate it as much as I did the misogyny, I definitely could do without, but musically, he was on another plane. It's crazy because he was making what you would consider G-Funk, but it wasn't G-Funk. It was his own brand. It was funk.
Yep.
It was his own shit completely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was definitely fun. That's the whole thing. I think this album actually taught me how to do bass lines. It like is one of the albums where I like when I even now when I approach if I'm making house music and the way the bass moves a lot of time, this is one of the albums that early was like, oh, this is how the bass plays around, you know, with rhythmically with everything else, and it's just but it's completely rooted in funk. Like like you said, Juan, the samples are amazing. The way that he chose to flip them and add shit to.
Definitely.
Okay, just one fun fact question for everybody. Who is the executive producer of this album?
Didn't we just?
Someone mentioned it.
Yeah, Suge Knight. Someone brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I hella didn't hear you. I hella didn't hear you.
I brought that up, Wiz.
Oh shit, I'm sorry, I hella didn't hear you.
That was a pop quiz.
So much for
I want to
saving time.
I want to make a point and ask a question, and maybe again ask it to some of the folks who haven't talked as much. So the point I wanted to make is "Safe and Sound," the title track. It's to me, it's one of the greatest hooks of all time.
Yes.
And I think that for me, like that's where Quick is at his best on songs like "Safe and Sound" and "Summer Breeze," where he's like really telling a story, like a complete thought, and like you could follow along so well. So I guess the question I asked to the group, and again, so the folks who haven't talked as much, like when is Quick to you at his best? You know, is it instrumentals? Is it, you know, is it the more misogyny? Is it the party jams? Like when do you think when do you think Quick is at his best?
When he's organic. I feel partially this Josh. When he's organic and he gets in there with some musicians, he makes it happen.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to the funk, you know, when it comes to the funk, like California funk, Ohio funk too, but California funk, he know how to sample a couple of things here and there and just turn it into his own sound. Because again, that Don't Fight the Feeling, he added a couple of more things to that specific song that he sampled from, and he turned it into his own. You know what I'm saying? He made it sound like as if he created or initially thought about using that sample sound of Con Funk and other groups like that, but organically he get in there with a little, you know, bass, guitar, piano, whatever, and that brother, he just, you know, he just develops from there.
I think for me,
That's a great point.
So for me, this is kind of the spot where I feel like him and Dre sort of separated down different paths, because I feel like where Dre would be maybe the king of sampling P-Funk, DJ Quick was in the studio with them making P-Funk. And for me, that was the point where Quick, I think, would give you like, you know, a hit record, but it would be the kind of summer jam like that goes on at the barbecue. Like throughout his whole career, that's sort of the lane where it's like musically, it's something that'll fit right in with like an older playlist, but it's very much like of his time and of his space. So I think when Quick is able to like bring, like folks have been saying the whole time, bringing that P-Funk sound to whether it's the current topics, whether it's his life, whether it's, you know, the times that he's coming from.
And like to add just one more thing to that, like when I'm trying to think of like what he does best, it's just a testament to me to how consistent he's been for like damn near 30 years now, that I feel like everything he does it to the, you know, like whether it's filling records out with musicians or the samples or just consistency in the rhymes. Sequencing an album, like he does it all so well time after time on every record from you know, Quick Is the Name to now. So salute.
Yeah.
And I want to say, yeah, it was dope that track like picked this album, because it just reinforced to me how unsung Quick is. When you look up what accolades he has, he doesn't have as many as he should. When you think about, like, I always think like, man, if Quick Like we should all be like one of our favorite artists should be R&B artist that Quick produced for like several albums. Right. You know what I mean? I would have loved to see that. You know what I'm saying? Like if Quick had a Michelet when Dre and them had a Michelet, I think that artist would be, you know, as big as some of the other R&B artists that we now know. You know what I mean? I would love to see him work more with. I would have loved to when Neo Soul got big, like Quick would have been the go-to person. Like for somehow, you know what I'm saying, Sadiq and them figured out like, oh, let me go fuck with Quick. You know what I'm saying? Because they were super musical themselves. You know what I mean? But I would have loved that. So I'm happy that he picked this album because it really made me just kind of think like, damn, you know, like this fool is hella clean. He's hella funky.
I mean, he did that one song with Tony, and that, you know, that was smooth.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I was gonna say
shout out to Tap. Tap got the blend on that too. So
yeah, I got the ratchet
blend. That comment to the chat.
Oh, yeah.
But now to your point though, Wiz, like I think around that time, like during the neo soul movement, I hate that term, but the neo soul era, like the 2000s, he had Balance and Options at that time. What was the album that had Pitching on the Party?
Yeah, that was Balance and Options.
Around that time, I remember that, and I think the album after. I get kind of confused, but he had a clean ass song, like Well with Raphael Sadiq, and he had another song where James DeBarge is just singing on the whole song, called the Divorce Song. And those are like my secret weapons if I'm doing an all R&B set. You know what I mean? Just playing those joints.
Yo, there's one thing I would say about him is that a lot of ways it sounds like he's just having a good time too. Like you can I don't know, hear his joy in the music that he's making sometimes. Like there are a lot of artists out there that take themselves so damn seriously, but he's a clever cat that's, you know, slick with language and, you know, amazing with the creation of music, and it somehow translates into, you know, this lightness and this joy that comes through that isn't so weighted down with trying to prove something to people. Like it's done. Like he's good, he's brilliant, he knows, and it just feels effortless. Like that to me, like I see that when he's at his best, that's what I hear. And when he's at his best, those are the tracks that sense of lightness and that joy are the tracks that really get me. I love it.
And I think to speak to that too, like just when you or am I? No, I was gonna say like just to speak to that.
I was gonna say something real quick that he did an interview on Questlove Supreme, and it's like a 2 to 3 hour interview. It's really dope because it's him breaking down shit to people that really, you know. Questlove will say like the Source Awards was the funeral of rap, and he's not super, a West Coast fan, but like DJ Quick really like breaking it down about his whole shit for a couple hours is really, really good, essential listening. Sorry, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I was gonna say to add on to Jason's point, just about Quick overall, his demeanor. You know, when you hear him talk, and when he has such a soft-spoken, I would almost say sweet personality, you know, that doesn't match this whole gangster side. So I think he just sort of has this natural kindness, and again seems to have this joy that comes out in his music that is definitely appreciated, you know.
I also feel he knows what he's contributed to the community, good and bad. You know what I mean? From a brother going from banging on wax, and Lord knows how many brothers passed from that out. You know what I'm saying? Both sides. You know what I'm saying? To again developing this craft and, you know, growing past that moment in his community to kind of, you know, bring a different message. I mean, he was talking about Sharina in the album after that. He was talking about Sharina Williams' sister getting killed in the house party. You know what I'm saying? Right. But on this album, he was talking about Safe and Sound. He was talking about grabbing her by her hair. She tried to come in there, shoot everybody up, grab her by her hair, beat her up in the middle of the street type. You know what I mean? So his responsibility, I feel like he knows, or he knew at that time, that he had an influence on a lot of the things going on out in Compton.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, let's put a bow on this conversation. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say on the way out?
As a first time listener to the record, it was just dope hearing P Funk's fingerprints on something new for me. They're everywhere, and I always it's kind of a nice treat when they show up. So
That's dope.
a nod to how he sort of channeled that as a producer.
Dope. So okay, so on each track I want to do a wrap up question. So this one's gonna be simple. Is this Quick's best project? So in the chat, for yes, put a 1. For 0, put a no. Is this his best project? And we'll see.
Wait,
Okay.
0 is no?
0 is no, 1 is yes.
Ah, man, that's hard.
Yeah, I feel you, one. That's hard for me to say.
Yeah, it's
man.
a tough one. This is a tough one. 0.5. There we go.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh,
Man.
Incredible album. Yeah.
Okay, got some halves. All right.
Yeah, you know.
And I haven't heard all of DJ Quick's albums, so I think I have to.
The two that came right after, that's the area I'm struggling, because it was a turning point, because it was 95. All that, it's the reason why the album sounds like that, and it's the reason why after when he came out, Rhythm Illusion, like there was so much stuff that happened in between that with the culture.
And
just so Rainey knows, we asked if this is Quick's best album, and if you think it's his best album, put 0. I mean, put 1, and if you don't think it's his best album, put 0. So.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
all right, so
Halo, you said something crazy. You said, I mean, not crazy. It was normal what you said, but I haven't heard all of Quick's albums, and it goes, and that made me go like, damn, I don't remember all of Quick's albums either. Should really listen to them. you know?
Yeah, seriously.
Like I feel the same way. I'm just like, oh damn, like I need to listen to all of them, because this was the first DJ Quick album that I bought. But then
you bought that?
Yeah, I bought it. I bought it like a week after you bought it. I went back to the warehouse and traded some shit after I taped.
Interesting. I need receipts.
Yeah, I think it
bro.
just.
I remember our conversations back then. I need receipts.
I liked the back then. Man, come on. Okay, come on.
No, no.
I'm gonna put it in a. So
I mean,
okay.
he did it. he did an album with Corrupt.
Mm-hmm. I still can't.
All right.
Cool. So let's transition to the next album, which is Leo Sunship. This one was one that I didn't hear. I never heard of going into it. It does have a story behind it. Bryant, who actually just joined the chat, is who, or not just joined, but he's been on the chat for a minute. He's the one that suggested this album and it was picked. So, Brian, are you with us, Brian? Okay, yeah, he's good. Okay, he's on mute, but yeah, maybe you
Peace,
can.
everybody. I wish everybody health and blessings right now. My goodness, it's good to see y'all.
What up?
Damn. Love y'all.
So maybe you can introduce yourself, and maybe you can talk about why this album was a selection of yours.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Bryant. I am a music head to the nerd level, just like all of you. And I chose this album because I was put onto this album last summer, and when I was thinking about releases in the vintage category, I felt like contributing something that I didn't know that much about and the world really didn't know that much about. So I think Leo Sunship was really cool because they were dismantled. I didn't do any of this research either, so fact check me and call me on all of it. But they were dismantled after this one project because the head singer passed away. So I liked the aspect of it. I'm a Leo. My birthday is the 31st of the month. Send me records, motherfuckers. Oh shit, this is that Khruangbin joint that just came in from Turntable Lab. And being a Leo, I love the fact that the cover of this, I see you, Juan. The cover had to do with the Zodiac, and I just felt like it was like a cool little tie-in, and it wasn't like on some rah-rah wannabe, like, spiritual shit that we see often nowadays. It was like a genuine, like, group of guys that associated with the astrological, signs of themselves, and then they chose to call themselves Leo Sonship. What's interesting about the album is that you've got the songs and then you've got the instrumentals. And that part, as an MC, singer, songwriter, is always fun. And I'm sure all of you in here who partake in that is the same. Even if you don't, you love to freestyle or some shit. And that was really dope that they had like the instrumental side. But once you hear the joints and like my favorite joint is Madam Butterfly. Yo, right? I see you, Jason. Yo, man, that joint is so fire. Yeah, man, that's it. I just wanted to try to contribute something that I wanted to learn about, that I felt was dope and that wasn't that popular, so we can all kind of go on this ride. Even though it's not that extensive of an album, I think that artists like this don't get discussed amongst the pantheon of music because we get caught up in all these releases and these different artists. But it's cool to kind of bring that to this platform. So thank you again to Halo and Wiz for bringing us all here during tumultuous times to gather about what we love most, which is music. But yeah, I would love to hear what everyone else thought about it. I was gonna try to buy this on vinyl so I could flex, and the shit is like $300 on Discogs, yo. I know those of you that looked it up were like, yo, this shit is a rarity. Like, damn.
They do got a repress, though. They do got a repress.
They do got a repress?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Came out
Damn, beat.
Hold on a second. They do got a repress. All right. What did you guys think, man? As you were vibing, I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Damn, B, it's only 300. That's it.
Bro, my Cash App is open, Wiz. Like, I know you got barbershop money on deck, man. Send me some records, kid. Yeah, man. I gotta check out that repress though, for real.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for speak on it. What do you guys think?
Yo, I'm gonna go ahead and speak on it right now because, to be honest, before y'all dropped the times earlier this afternoon, I had no idea how long this shit was about to go. So I gotta bounce. So I just want to give my words right now, and for the next go around, I'm about to be here for the however long it takes. You got me. So, yo, Brian, thank you for putting me on this fucking obscure ass amazing record. The album artwork is crazy, just wild 70s shit. With the fucking zodiac signs floating around. I love that. I don't really know. It seems like since it's only 4 songs, maybe they were supposed to make a fuller album, and before the one dude passed away, and then they just had to kind of keep it to 4 songs. I don't know the history there.
Oh, shit. Theories. I love it.
But I love the wow on I'm Back for More. That wow, like somebody needs to fucking make a beat with that.
They did.
Boston.
For those who didn't hear it, it sounds like wow.
It sounds like it's a sample. Like it's so
hard.
And so I was a big fan of it. I've been vibing to it. I listened to it earlier while I was cleaning my whole apartment. And I'll just leave you guys with one question to consider. Basically my question is, what are some of the best albums of just one album wonders? Just albums that had to, it came out, the artist just for whatever reason never put out another record. And so I got a couple. Buena Vista Social Club is one of my favorite records. And obviously Lauryn Hill, Miseducation, and then this record by Society of Soul called Brain.
Talk about it. Come on, man. Come with it.
Man.
So those three loved, in that same vein of just like, man, if they would have dropped another record, like who knows how dope it would have been. So anyway, thank you guys. I got to bounce. It was great to meet everybody and see everybody.
Definitely. Good to meet you too, man.
Next time.
Cool, for sure. Peace, man.
Peace.
Just to let y'all know, I like to try to wrap it up around no later than 9. So 8:30 to 9, I like to try to wrap it up at.
That's 9 West Coast PST. I mean, those of you on the East Coast.
Yeah, because we way past that shit.
Because Mike, you in Florida. Mike, you in Florida, right? For sure.
Yes, sir.
Like,
Yeah. So I don't want to go too much later than 9.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have to dip out to dinner and bath time for the kids, but I gotta say, man, like I heard this in a mix a while ago and like, sought out the DJ and was like, what it like hit him on email and tracked him down and was like, what is this? And I've only literally done that a couple of times where I just like needed to hear something. And like I'll say this, it like this album kind of, or whatever we call this project sounds like the perfect like encapsulation of everything that was good musically in that zone, in that era. It sounds like a lot of different things. It sounds familiar because you've heard a lot of things that sound like it.
Right.
It's beautiful. Like it sounds like it's been sampled a million times, even though it hasn't been. Like it has been sampled for sure, but it just sounds like everything good that was out at that moment pulled together, and not as like this messy garbage hodgepodge of everything, but it just like, it's almost like the perfect compilation record that's not a compilation record. Like that's what this thing is. It really is beautiful. Like the 4 full tracks that they have on there with vocals and everything are just like perfectly done, and then like the instrumental versions on there that are, I don't know, it really is magical to listen to. And some of those songs are like, fuck you, I don't care, we got a minute and a half long intro before we start really getting into the song. Like they're just loving the music and love making the music, and it felt really good. And yeah, it's sad that they didn't get that opportunity to grow and evolve and bring us new stuff.
Imagine.
I know. It really is beautiful work, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this one was definitely a moment in time. Like to your point, like this is a very specific, like this had to have happened in 1978, because you're talking about a weird moment where you're transitioning decades, you're post-ish disco, you're post-ish funk, but you're not quite past it yet. And so like when I think about this, I'm like, this sounds like some shit after Larry Mizell, but very much in the Leon Ware, like music. If you listen to Musical Massage, this is that, like this is like the sound. Like it's a very weird, funky-ish, but like there's some disco vibes. It's like, this was just a very specific time. Like I have a playlist dedicated to literally this shit that I'm like, I don't know what to call it, but it's a very hybrid era of, we're doing R&B, we're doing soul, but it's still very much disco. It's very much funk. It's very danceable. And all of it sounds like you could sample it. All of it sounds like it was sampled, and it probably wasn't. And so I feel like there's probably a lot of records like this. This would be a really cool, like, deep dive thing to think about. Like, what are other records like this that came out at this time that had these, like, quick moments, and we got nothing else from them? But this is very much like a 1978 album.
Yo, I was actually surprised, and piggyback on that, like, I was surprised to see it was 78 actually, because I heard a lot of like the 60s in there. And what was fascinating to me is like how it must have sounded to a listener when a lot of what they were channeling, like, those moments were kind of over. So I heard like almost like Delphonic style, like background vocals and like Motown-esque, like the plate reverb on the background vocals. It sounded old, but then you got these like forward-leaning bass lines, syncopated disco-ass rhythms. It was very different they're like strains from the same tree, but like chronologically it didn't quite add up. I'm like, this sounds like older than this other part of what I'm hearing. So they did a really dope job of like synthesizing what R&B and funk could be at the time. The other thing that really hit me is like a lot of hard like core funk, especially Ohio funk, like Isley's, if you may or may not call them funk, I wouldn't. But them aside, vocals weren't usually really killing on a lot of like heavy funk records. It was like band first, groove first, and like, you know, Junie could blow, and there are a couple folks in the P-Funk camp who could, or like indifferent. But it wasn't like you listen to Boosie to hear his vocal chops. And the fact that they had super strong singing on here, push it over the edge in a way, I'm like realizing that's not always what I get in my favorite funk. So the fact that they had like the killer tight, I almost saw the dudes with the hands and the four tops, like ography behind the lead singer and the band. It's rare you hit all at the same time. So I'm really glad y'all put me on.
Yeah, it was great, man. What a pleasant surprise because I think even Give Me the Sunshine, I can't place it, but I know somebody sampled that too. Somebody used that and put some keys on it. I can't remember who it is, and definitely the Wow, the Johnson & Johnson sample. I did some research on it, and I don't know if I'm wrong about this. I don't know that it actually was made in '78. I think it was released in '78, but they had all this label trouble for years after he passed. And I think maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think that's when they released it. But it had been done for a minute, I think. And then a few of the guys, they were like roommates. Like one of them was roommates with Marvin Gaye. One of them was or another one was working with Stevie Wonder at the time. So the Motown influence is huge. It's crazy that they were so close to that, and it's a forgotten album because they were all in the mix for all that stuff.
I was gonna say, Juan, I cheated and looked at, who sampled to see who sampled it, right?
I'm on it right now.
And one thing you notice about all the groups that sampled it is they are more underground rap groups too. So this is one of the reasons I feel like that for me, listening to this album was a pure education. Like we, the homies and I, like we all talk about samples and shit all the time. Like Trackademics literally printed out sample FAQ when we were in college and bound it and made it to a book. So he would walk around with, with who sampled, you know what I'm saying? And paper form, and to be honest with you, like this shit never came up. This album, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we never talked about this. Yeah. So props to Bryant,
Just to piggyback off that, like a few of the people that have like sampled them is like Action Bronson, Odyssey, Madlib, Tavares, like people we like listen to, but like they probably just didn't register. So they've got some samples for sure.
Also more recent samples, like Action Bronson or Odyssey, like nothing from like the 90s or some shit when it was like
there's one from the 90s, the Deep Forbidden Fruit, the group Forbidden Fruit, which is on the D&D compilation.
Oh wow.
Which,
come on. I mean, really,
deep cuts?
You can't think of a deeper cut than that. God damn.
Pizza with Splinter. That's how
I know.
That's how I know what it is. Okay.
But I think
I remember coming across this on one of those blogs. I think it might have been Kev Nottingham. Or Hip Hop is Red that would do like sample compilations of like, here's the new project that dropped, here are all the samples, and it was from the Johnson & Johnson project that they they had this link, and of course back then it was like a SendSpace link that you could download the whole zip file. And I remember looking into actually two of the dudes that were the singers used to sing with Marvin Gaye. So this was coming off of a couple years right after. Like Roy Ayers had, Everybody Loves the Sunshine. Marvin was coming off of sort of his space. So really that's kind of the sounds that I'm getting from it. It's real sort of like dark and kind of slinky, and like even just the way that you'd have sort of the longer instrumental breaks in there. Like it felt very sort of, someone said earlier, kind of Leon Ware, Marvin Gaye, Roy Ayers in that, mid 70s kind of space. But yeah, I remember that was the thing that when I had looked into, who they were and stuff, finding out that they actually were backup singers for Marvin Gaye on some of his other tracks.
Right. A little fun fact, I found out that dude, was going around that dude, Kevin Nottingham, was a Trump supporter. So.
Oh yeah, he's like a hella racist. That just came out on Twitter. Like
Wait, what?
This past year.
Yeah.
He's like the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
damn.
He's a villain in Robin Hood.
I know.
You hate to see it.
But I know you hate to see it. But yeah, no. But one thing I think of when I hear albums like this, though, is the amount of people that were in the studio at the same time, because you hear the strings, you hear string arrangements. They probably had a damn conductor. Like it seemed like there had to be 20 people up in the studio playing on this album. So
Sounded like a budget.
yeah. So I just think about like, damn, like probably none of those people got paid. They're probably like here's your $150 if that. So.
Or do you think like because they were so connected to Marvin Gaye that he was just like, oh, I got you or some shit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Marvin didn't pay anybody either, so.
But I think it could have been that too. But it's
he didn't pay nobody, but maybe he set up the.
Right.
the
I got my guys
recording
that can do it for. Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the background, and just try to look up key names and things like Kenneth Stover was the main guy behind that, and you get into it, and he co-wrote a couple of songs with Marvin, but he was part of a group called Finished Touch, and they don't consider it a group, more or less like a consortium of writers and musicians and stuff, and they were I feel that's where that Motown connection came in. They called it Betty Music or something like that, Job Betty or Joe Betty Music or whatnot. And they were connected to Motown. So they just going off of one blog called Music, he has a lot of credit, Kenneth Stover, and Wikipedia says he did the Marvin. Well, he co-wrote the song "You're the Man," Marvin Gaye one, where they kind of basically like Obama should have been playing that when he was running. But anyway. And you just see that this man is pretty much just transferred that, like everybody has been saying, he's been transferring that sound. He worked with it and he's kept it up, and even into Peabo Bryson's career and Faith, a couple of other people have sampled his music. So the artist that passed from cancer, Johnny Simon, and then his sound, I feel like that he had that, man, he just had that sound. Like they say he wanted to sound like Marvin, but that brother came with it like Frankie Beverly came with it like Frankie Beverly wanted to sound like Marvin, but he made his own lane. So Lord knows, man, if Johnny Simone could have been living, man, like that dude would have probably been up there. I mean, he probably would have knocked them people out the box.
Right.
Because you hear the Bar Keys, you hear Lakeside, you know what I mean? You hear a whole bunch of groups that sound like that man influenced them in a sense, or that consortium of Finished Touch, and that consortium of writers and musicians and stuff really developed, the funk sound to me.
Yeah, and I think to speak to that him, if he would have lived a lot longer, I think that's definitely a thought that we all think. But you also, on the flip side, you're thankful that he recorded this one thing as well, because had this not happened, then no one would have heard of him. So it's kind of like this double-edged thing where, could have did more, but at least he did this,
All right. Mike already left. I wanted to say peace, but yeah.
So yeah, any last comments on this album y'all want to brush over or anything to suggest?
I just peeped that Al Johnson and Gene Carn, they remade Back for More. That's the version I know. Because I know that version I think was sampled by Faith and somebody else, but yeah, that bugged me out. So even though they were obscure, I guess that song went around, or maybe it was released and it was like the Cudi classic that made its round.
Yeah.
Because Norman Connors produced the Al Johnson version.
Dope, yeah. So I guess the question, the what do you call it? The lasting question for this one is this album gonna bump again this year? You think 2020?
Damn right.
For me, it is. I feel like it's like a perfect summer album to put on for a barbecue or a little social distancing gathering outside.
Yeah, we got that barbecue.
It don't
It's
get
all
better
good.
than that.
That social distance barbecue.
No, definitely.
I mean, I feel like I agree with Rainey. Like, now that it's in my life, I'm gonna be slapping it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It was, like I said, I'm still a little astounded of like, damn, I never really slapped this before. You know what I'm saying? So definitely going into rotation.
I also think that, like, I mean, a lot of y'all are DJs in here, but there's been like almost while people probably here in this group have been listening to 70s disco and funk and things like that, I feel like there's been a resurgence lately of like that music. I know, like in Brooklyn, for example, there's like the Soul in the Horn party, and there's like this like crate digging, and again, these kind of funk and these vibes, and are making kind of like a resurgence in dance spaces and things like that. So this definitely feels like it's in that canon of like, yo, I want to be like cool and listen to shit that nobody else is listening to, that's like funky and it's danceable, and this fits right in that like paradigm of like the 70s danceable music that nobody knows about.
Yeah, it's officially in the rotation, and
yeah,
I feel the same way as Wiz. I'm like, how did it slip past me? Like I feel like we're all between all of us. You remember when we picked it last month? Everyone was like, "What?" Because Brian wasn't here. We're like, "What is that?"
Yeah. Same, bro.
That fella real.
Same.
Yeah.
Cool. Looks like everyone's bumping this in their rotation. So yeah, let's move on. The internet. I know a lot of people got stuff to say about that. Wow, this was your pick, right?
Yes, it was.
Cool. So yeah. So maybe you could talk about why you picked it, what this album means to you, and yeah, just talk about why.
I listened to a lot of. I mean, like a lot of the new music I listened to in the last 5 years is soul music. But being a DJ, I feel like it's always scattered between different people's tracks from different albums. So it's not often that I could think about an album completely that just has jams from front to back, and it just seems like that group, the internet, like they had the album before, but they just really hit their groove at this point. Like they're still hella young, but they grew as musicians. It was just the musicality on it was just amazing, man. And it just LA is very blessed to have such a great music scene with jazz, with soul, and this feels like the collection of all that, and they did it and made it just like real easy to listen to, lovable soul music, man, from LA. It was really great. I've always loved it.
Definitely. Do you have a question for the group that you want to pose?
No, I didn't think about one. Sorry, you caught me off guard. I don't know.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. That's good. I'll keep that in mind. I guess just what was your first impression hearing it, whether it was this time or back in 2015?
Are there any first-time listeners for this album, or has everyone heard it?
Front to back.
Okay, yeah.
It
It seems like everyone's
my first
familiar.
time.
Oh, word. Okay. Go.
Anybody want to go? Because I can talk about what I love about this album.
Yeah, and similar to Josh, I will say that the internet, this album came out, and that was my first introduction to them. So I heard this one and rolled back. So that was my experience. But go ahead, Wiz.
I was gonna say this album is one of those albums where, I make music. I make music with Trackademics. I make music with Mike Baker and Tap 10 and 108K, and this is one of those albums where I was like, a battery was put in my back. Like a battery was like, it was straight up. It was just like bro, you gotta step your shit up, or you gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, I don't know, it just made me feel like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to make some shit like that hit like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really did that to me when it came out, because first off, like, it's probably my favorite project that ever came out of Odd Future camp, you know? Because it is Odd Future, you know? And I remember when they were starting to get big, they would talk about how much they loved, this shit made me feel hella old. They would talk about being at home with their moms and shit and hearing her play Jill Scott in the background as they was cleaning up. And I was like, shit, I was in college when that shit dropped. You know what I'm saying? Like, they listening to Jill Scott, like like my mom's was listening to like Luther and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I love this album, man. Like, front to back, slap. Like, you get to this, when it come on, you know, it's just like a murderous row. Getaway, Gabby, Under Control, and then, you know, Go With It, Just Saying, and then it come to my favorite song, you know what I'm saying, For the World, Fauntleroy. You know, that's a bad motherfucker right there, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, and then it come out of that, For the World, it go to Girl with my current, like, favorite producer is Kaytranada. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like I know when they was making this shit, it was like, we about to hit niggas over the head with this one. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you got a Girl and it's still Special Affair. And it's just like, it keep slapping. It's unrelenting in its slap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love this shit. I love it.
I think what's interesting about their collective, like, I know they've kind of dispersed and gone their separate ways, but like, Odd Future, if you were to go to an Odd Future show, because I had gone to a lot when they first came out, you were going to see a bunch of like teenage white kids. Like, that's what was going on at Odd Future shows. You're going to see mosh pits, you're going to see white kids. But what was always fascinating to me about them was that all their influences were like Black soul artists. Like, Tyler, the Creator, had Roy Ayers on his album. Like, he had Eric on his album. Like, those are his influences. You can absolutely hear it, to your point about like Jill Scott. Like, Sid's influences are Black soul artists. And so as eccentric as they were still very much rooted in like this Black music tradition, and very much will tell you about the fact that they love Black soul music. And that's kind of the roots. It's soul music, it's jazz, etc. And so, you know, and it's funny because when I listened to this album, my favorite album from them was actually the album before this. And then I listened to this again today and I was like, damn, this album is actually like much better than that album. Like, this is really like, this is like, because for me, like the album before this, I appreciate it more because it's more soulful, it's very R&B, but I was like, yo, this is just like a matured project from a group. Like, and you can look from like Purple Naked Ladies to this album, like the ascension of like their maturation and kind of understanding who they are and really kind of realizing who they are and their sound. It's just a really good project. And I think that one of the more underlying things that I didn't think about, Sid is like, she's the lead singer. She's also a lesbian and she's singing about women. And that's a very like interesting, like little like sidebar thing that you don't really see a lot, is like, yo, this woman's singing about women and we're all bopping to it. Nobody thinks more about it than what it is. And it was just like when I was listening to Girl, I'm like, I remember the video popped up the other day for Girl during Pride Month. And I was like, yo, like, Sid is a lesbian, by the way, and she's like just doing this, and we're all bobbing to it. It's just kind of secondary to how good the music is. So I'm glad that this was kind of the selection, because this is like a really good album from a really, really good quality LA group specifically.
Yeah, I'm say to Paul's point, you know, like when Our Future first emerged and Sid was the DJ, not even the Sid that we know singing now, and was open. And, you know, she was out and open, and I, you know, as a lesbian, it felt hella good to see that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's so much, like we talked about misogyny earlier, we talked about homophobia. Like, again, that is always, when people say hip hop, that's code for the tribe of people I come from. So I'm always like, okay, well, this is showing you that shit has moved forward for a certain part of the culture. You know what I'm saying? And I was happy to see that also, because at the same time, Our Future was being real. Like, they were like, these kids are crazy, and they say all this crazy shit. But it was like, nah, she was in the mix with them, who riding like them and, you know, keeping up with them. And she just had agency. She had agency over who she was in this group of people. And to me, that's always more important, whether it's some, whether it's, you know, people saying shit out of pocket or weird or it's inside jokes or whatever, as long as the person feel like they are accepted and a part of the shit. And you're right, Paul, like this even pushed it even further. It's like, man, I know that she start talking about her romance and I'm listening to shit like it's a romance that I would have as a straight man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just really dope ass songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to go to no extra shit to be like, I'm doing mental gymnastics to enjoy it or whatever. It's just really dope.
That speaks to the group, the collective, you know, that everybody in that collective felt comfortable enough to be themselves, to be able to get to a point, even though this is the second album from the internet, get to the point that they can just express an album of this magnitude and everything just feels organic and everything just feels comfortable and in its own skin and not trying. Because this album is totally automatic. Like, it's just like, you know, it's just, you hear it and you believe it. There's nothing, you cannot not believe this album because it's coming from their souls and it's coming from an organic ass place.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just have a goofy ass smile on my face because Randy said to switch up on Gabby. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yo, the kind of found what Mike was saying around like this is only the second album. What struck me listening to this now, like 5 years out, is they're still young, but figured it out hella early. I think it takes a lot of bands a couple of outings before they figure out what they want to do. And I think I was just thinking about, as we talked about, my theory is, so the first album, they were a little all over the place, and the origin story, I don't know if everyone knows, like Odd Future, each member got like a different deal. It was like kind of some Wu-Tang shit. Mm-hmm. So Sid, the label's like, we're gonna give you a band, and maybe Matt Marshall was involved from the ground floor, but it wasn't necessarily gonna be a band. And the first album was more like production driven, and they had some personnel. And they had this one song that I heard, the only thing I heard from them before this record was the Chad Hugo song, Don't Ya. It was like one of the only things besides Kenna I've heard him doing in a minute. But it was a bop. It had a sort of like Michael Jackson Rock With You kind of vibes. Mm-hmm. And it was the only thing that really stuck with me on that first album. And that I feel like was the seed that was planted where they're like, oh, okay, we could like do something different here. Let's lean into this like musicianship kind of artistry lane instead of these like sort of vibey Odd Future beats. So I feel like they kind of went down this rabbit hole after that single and figured it out in a really dope way, because now almost all of them, save the drummer, I think, have like really pretty dope standalone, you know, projects on their own. So like Patrick Page, the bass player, dropped a really killing album a summer or two ago, where he's got some stuff that's like on some low-key like Thundercat energy. Steve Lacy's kind of a breakout star. People kind of forget, and he was doing I produced for Kendrick on my iPhone, and he was like the boy wonder for a minute. So I feel like they figured out, it was on some like RZA stuff, actually, to go back to the Wu-Tang example, because they kind of came together haphazardly. I feel like they figured out a game plan pretty quickly, and they started like a little empire for real. So I'm impressed looking back that they had to be all like probably late teenagers, early 20s when this record dropped. And to go from that to like Sid being the go-to hook singer, all of them, I'm just impressed with like how they played their hand.
Just like a point of clarification there to piggyback off that. The first album was Purple Naked Ladies. Yes. Feel Good was the second album. That had Don't Ya on it.
Feel Good.
Yeah, so the first joint was like Mad. It was all Matt Martians. Because to your point, that was Matt. That was all Matt, all Sid. And the second one, they went wild R&B with like Tay Walker, who's like a really like super R&B cat, and they went super R&B with that. And I don't think
Jamil was in the band yet, because dude don't
Jamil wasn't. He wasn't.
That's Thundercat's little brother, man.
He came on for the third album, and that was like the power lineup. That was like Miles and Quintet. That was him. That's, you know what I mean. That was like Patrick Page. That was Steve Lacy, who was incredible. And this is the album where they all came together and gave us this like, we're gonna do like multiple things. We're not gonna just be eccentric. We're not just gonna do R&B. We're gonna like actually do us. Mm-hmm. And this is like the first time where like they really found their sound and brought together all these different like little pieces and brought it together to be like some shit that's just like
figured it out.
Yeah, they really did.
Definitely.
Other thoughts?
It's just a complete vibe. That's all I gotta say. I don't have much to say. It's just a good listen through and through, front to back.
Yeah, agree with what Jason said. I mean, like, Girl is definitely my favorite song on that album, but like hard not to listen to the entire thing in won't sit through. You know, it's like whenever like I have Girl on a random ass playlist I have. As soon as it hits, I'm just like, damn, I gotta go listen to the whole album now because I need to hear that whole vibe. You know?
Yeah.
Girl is definitely my joint. Off the album, I explain that a lot. And Something's Missing is hella raw. Something's Missing is hella raw, and the Fauntleroy joint. But I do not like this album. I listen to hella R&B, and I feel like there's something about the tone in her voice. It's too quiet. I wanted to be proven wrong. I saw
turn it up, Tap.
Out here.
I
saw Sid out here. I think it was just a solo show when she did the solo album, and the crowd was amazing. I was definitely the odd person out, but that show was sleepy as hell.
Are you judging the show or are you judging the album, Tap?
Tap wants an album of the crowd.
You know what I mean?
Well, I actually wanted to kind of transition into that because, you know, I know we're all glowing about the album, but I want to get a little bit more critical. And you know, I'm not super stringent when it comes to vocals at all. But my question is, does Sid, and of course, youth is a big part of it, and it takes one to grow into their voice. But does Sid do enough on these albums, or specifically this album, with vocals? Like,
she's the next Mariah Carey.
I think so. I think.
And I know it's like the elephant in the room. Like,
like
I don't
can I
know.
just say that we did a Janet Jackson album last week?
Right.
I mean,
we did a
we did.
Jackson album last week. Are we talking about like Carrie and vocals?
I'm just saying she's no Kathleen Battle. I'm just,
Hey, hold on, wait. Time out, Rainey got something to say on this. Rainey got something to say.
No, nothing shocking, but like I just think that her sound fits the sound that they were trying to give on this album, right? The production and musicality. Because even when you play like with live bands, you would think that a voice that soft wouldn't fit. And maybe because it was the studio also, who knows how she is live. I haven't seen her live, but I just think it fits. And then they explore that though, right? Because you see in the next album, they have Steve Lacy come out and he's singing vocals in the front too. And so I just think that it fits for this album specifically. She's not an amazing singer. She's not putting herself in a category of some amazing singer, but it works for this group of people.
Yeah, even
also, hey, hold on, real quick. Point of discussion is whoever has the family in the back. Can you just mute your mic until you talk so that we can make sure we hear other people clearly? All right. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think to that point, I think like, you know, there's people like Mos Def, people like Pharrell who are not virtuosos, but they can carry a tone and just kind of mesh with the overall music.
Vibe. Yeah.
Yes.
Literally vibe.
Right.
And I think you brought up. I'm glad that you mentioned them. I'm glad you mentioned like rappers like a Mos Def, because we don't hold a rapper who sings on all of his fucking tracks to the same standard we would to an R&B singer, because we're like, R&B singers have to sing.
Right.
Rappers, they can do their like, we can stay on tune and it works. And it's like, yo, like whatever your vibe is what your vibe is. Like, speaking about Future, let's keep it a buck. Like Frank Ocean can't sing that well, but it works.
Oh my
like,
God, are you serious?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Let's fight.
Hey, let's talk.
Frank Ocean.
Hey, let's have that conversation. Let's have that conversation.
Frank Ocean. No, go see Frank Ocean live.
Just saying, man.
Go see Frank Ocean live, and like he's not a strong vocalist, but it works for what he does. And I think with Sid is the same way, where it's like, yeah, she's not a powerhouse, but like it works for the vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just like it's does the vibe work? And the thing is, it's not Sid and the internet. By the way, just to be clear, this ain't Gladys Knight and the Pips. Right. This is the internet. And she's a part of a collective. She is one piece in a band. not the lead singer. You know what I mean?
I'm mad you said Frank Ocean can't sing. I'm shocked.
He can't.
I mean,
You gotta see him live. He can't.
That's a conversation that I'm more than willing to have.
To hold them
He's
to
not a
the
great
standard-
vocalist.
to hold them to the standard of live, because some people just don't have strong voices, you know,
Yeah.
and do things live.
Rainy,
Like, you gotta hold the mic to his throat.
Hey,
Yes.
let's talk about it.
vocals ain't that nice.
I'm with you, Rainy. I'm with you.
Let's
talk
vocals
about
are
it.
average.
I will say
I'm sorry.
I saw the internet at the New Parish, and Sid was struggling. She was struggling with the vocals, and I was like, well, maybe it's the end of the tour. Maybe you just work a little too hard, and vocals are struggling. But then I've seen other performances where she's kind of struggling as well. So it's not her strength, but I just to echo the point, I think she's a piece of a band. She's not.
Hey,
you bring up a good question. What is the biggest lie you've told yourself about your favorite artist when you saw them live and they didn't deliver?
Ooh. You know what though? Do you guys think Sir can sing? I seen Sir live and he was like struggling. I don't know. I think we should ask her.
What
is
year?
the standard?
Recently?
Hold on. Go ahead, Rainy.
I was just gonna ask, what do you guys think is a good singer? Like, what's the standard? It has to be they're great live. They like what makes a good singer?
Have you heard of the three
and,
tenors? No, just playing.
And Jason was trying to clarify if you saw him recently.
One of them
Jason was
got
trying to
sued,
clarify.
I think.
Yeah, when he went on his tour for sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You said when he went on his tour.
His most recent album.
Wow, I saw him when before he was signed to TDA. He was at Eli's Mile High Club, and I remember nobody was there, and I mean he was holding tones, but I think his songs were also not as what's the word, like he wasn't trying to do as much, but I mean I think if we're talking about albums and songs versus live. Like those are two different things. Like we're talking about this album. This album needs to be. I don't want to hear Shaka Khan over the internet because that's just gonna fuck it. It's gonna fuck it up. It's not really gonna be the right vibe. And if you listen to
said blood.
Huh? Yeah. So but if you listen to this out in the right context, man, it is front to back. If being in LA, not being from LA, but listening to the internet in LA and seeing the crowd, seeing the people who they grew up with at the party in LA, and then just being out here, it feels even more relevant. This shit is crazy. They started the whole culture.
That's a good point.
Hold on real quick. I just want to say something real quick. This is a little bit of a rebuttal to Tap, which is that if you can enjoy Kelly's, then you can enjoy this album.
Hey.
This is a different vibe live.
I love Kelly. Yeah.
Everyone's point this album is
because we're talking about the difference between someone who sings and someone who can blow. Right? And
Yeah, and by the way,
I don't require every singer. I don't require every singer to blow.
If you have
Can I clarify?
a voice, I consume a lot of R&B music, so it's not there.
I like how he said that. No, Tap said that shit like me. It's like I eat a lot of pizza, so I just want you to know, Domino's better than it used to be. Like,
but I do want to clarify though that when I said Frank can't sing or said is not a strong vocalist, it's not an issue to me. I actually don't have a problem with that. Again, I made the Janet comment because Janet can't blow, but Janet's made incredible music. That's not the point. Is not that everybody has to blow. Alicia Keys can't blow, but Alicia Keys made great music. It's about what works within what's going on in the production, the background, etc. So I don't have a problem with the fact that Sid is not a super strong vocalist, but there's no question to me that Sid works on the internet records. Even with her solo stuff, I think she works.
I think the other thing is they all can't even play like virtuosos. It's all they're not going crazy. I'm listening to the licks. And it's no real licks. It's a lot of pocket and it's a lot of light, vibey playing. Everything is perfect. And I don't even want to say it's just age. I just went to the Thundercat, right before all this bullshit happened with COVID. I saw Thundercat at the Wiltern, and it was all the Steves. It was Steve Arrington, Steve Lacy, and yeah, it was all, yes, exactly. It was all Steve. They did their song together, and you could see the whole concert was up here with the virtuosity of all the playing, and then they all came out, and then it just went down like this to be in pocket with a song. And no, it's because the Steve Lacy song. Not to say you can't play or sing, but it was needed for that. And I feel like this whole group is literally that, you know. But it's perfect in pocket.
It's interesting because it's like what you're saying. It makes sense to me. Like the musicians are doing with their tools what Sid's kind of doing with her voice, which is like it's all in service of the groove. And I'm surprised it didn't come before. It's like also what Sade did as the band. Like Sade's range was pretty limited, but she knew exactly what her lane was and she stayed there. And Matheson and the rest of the dudes in the band could all actually play, but you rarely heard them while out on the records because it's like we're doing a vibe here and that's what you came for a Sade record.
With Sade, there's like very small things that be like, oh shit, they're fucking it up though. Like you can,
I mean, they could all play for real.
Play sax, and I listen to Stewart, and while people are like, oh, he's not going, there's parts where you're like, yeah, I see why.
And like the concert footage, like you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different thing. They're straight out of a jazz.
Yeah, so I think
be careful because Sade is behind Mike, so be careful what you guys are saying.
Deal, jump out of this like Easy in the We Want Easy video and grab him.
I feel like Sade made a choice, whereas the internet's like actually limited by their facility. They don't have chops like that.
It's probably their level and aim.
But I also think that's kind of like what this new generation is about. And I don't want to like pivot the conversation too much, but like when I talk to like my cousins who are like in their early 20s, and I'm like, yo, like none of the shit y'all listen to has people that like can really blow or like have strong instrumentalists. They're like, yeah, but that shit's a fucking vibe. Like we keep using the word vibe for a reason. It's because that's what folks are about right now. And I'm not even like hating on it. It's about a vibe. Like you don't need everybody to be like Thundercat is a rarity. Like I'm glad that you brought up the Thundercat joint because you will see him play with like Steve Lacy and like the juxtaposition is ridiculous. It is like one of you is like, like another one is like shit. Not that. Yeah, but like you want the vibe, you know what I mean? It's like when I get arguments about like
I mean, because the way I kind of define it is like there's people who can sing and there are singers, you know, and I think Sid is someone.
They're singers.
Right. And Sid is someone who can sing, you know, and I think a lot of people are in that category. But I think singers are your Mariah Careys, your, you know, like those people who are singers, you know. So.
Yeah, but like
singers?
Who's bought a Layla Hathaway album this year over the last 5 years? Like, no, the music needs to be dope. And I love Layla Hathaway, by the way. I'm not hating on her.
But she's not vibes.
She ain't vibes. Like motherfuckers ain't buying her shit. Like nobody bought the Snarky Puppy albums. Like
I was gonna
be real about like.
It takes.
I did too. I know. I bought it too.
I was gonna say to Paul's point, right? Like that is true. A lot of younger people they want a sonic version of the curated Instagram story they would make.
Yes.
Or the curated IG thing that they.
It's a generation thing.
They want a sonic. They want a sonic version of it. And some artists are really good at doing that. Like. For the longest time, I struggled saying that I liked Travis Scott music, right? This is not to pivot too much. I used to be like, oh, I don't know what's going on with him. And then I saw him live, right? Fool's Gold Day Off, and I was like, oh shit, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And then he got better at at putting in his music what he was doing live.
So the same song over and
No
over.
Bystanders, and I'm on my kitchen table, like jumping off, hanging off a chandelier that ain't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that is something to say about what people can do sonically. I also want to say that Juan, when the internet probably came to perform in the Bay, one of your cousins probably smoked her out before she went on. And that probably was why her voice
was very popular that night. She had to people were jumping on stage, grabbing her. All these young women.
Man.
It was something out of an old Ed Sullivan thing or something. Screaming.
You already know. It was like Elvis Pelvis, huh? Like
I saw them 3 times in the Bay. I saw them in New Parish, at the Independent, and the Regency. And when I tell you, you couldn't hear her vocals over the 18 to 22-year-olds singing over her, they fucking love them. It's she didn't need to sing. It didn't give a shit what she was saying. They just fucked with her on a different level. Where it was this shit is just real cool. It's I think the Instagram reference is the perfect one. They want that Instagramish sound, and that's what the internet does and even better than most people do.
Because there's very
that's like the Weeknd. When you go see the Weeknd, like all the Flat Tummy Tea models are like singing every word.
It's crazy because there's a lot more B and C versions of what the internet is doing out there. I mean, shit, you go on it's a few curated Spotify lists where you be like, damn, it's very vibey in this playlist, and I don't like the vibe, or I don't want to be here. And there's like, I think there's still groove in this shit, and I think that's the important thing. That a lot of folks who are doing like the real vibey shit, it might not even be musically robust or groove, enough with the groove to like carry that vibe.
It reminds me of disco, where like there was like this massive backlash, which was racial and homophobic and a lot of other things. But like when disco got on, all you notice like all of a sudden 80,000 bands popped up trying to do the disco blueprint. And I think it's very similar to now, where like everybody knows what the lo-fi, the vibey feel is, and they're trying to copy it. Like there's a million people that sound like a Sabrina Claudio or a Lena Baraz, and they're all trying to do that sound, or they're all trying to do an internet sound, and like 85% of them suck. Like, but you know what they're trying to go for. I think the internet just does an amazing job of it.
It's crazy, like the lo-fi thing. Like Will Smith dropped a mix last week that's a lo-fi mix, and I was like, "What the fuck is lo-fi that big now?" Like,
you've been doing it.
It's been around for like probably a good 2 months now.
That shit still tripped me out last week.
But Will Smith lo-fi though.
I will say it's also a testament, and I know she's a friend to a lot of us. Just the influence of Jay Davy, man. Like,
gosh,
how
huge,
how many artists have come up off that sound? Because I think they created a blueprint that, man, you definitely hear it on the internet.
That's Los Angeles. They birthed like modern Los Angeles.
Shout out to Georgia Ann Muldrow too in that. Georgia Ann Muldrow was a part of that too. Like a lot, there was a couple folks that did happen.
I want to say that, like, I always say this, that Jay Davy landed on the planet that we live on now first, before everyone. They landed on that planet, they put their flag down, you know what I'm saying? And then
world wasn't
from
ready.
that, people took haircuts, you know what I'm saying? Like,
shake the shit off.
Just talk about, and we still live on that planet. Like, we have Miguel because of them. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what visually did that too is Khalees's Bossy video. Like when you look at that video, it's like that video is like just you saw the white guy with fronts, you saw the fucking the dog that had his hair tie-dyed green or something. It's like I feel like that vibe also visually is kind of what we're seeing today too.
Khalees she always been one of the vanguard coolest black girls out.
One of the things I want to say, one of the questions I have about this album is this the best soul album that's come out of Los Angeles last decade? Just to contextualize it, I want to ask the reason why is because, Los Angeles has had a pretty unprecedented run of great music from 2010 to 2020. If you look at the spectrum of music that was released from the beginning of the decade, you do start with, the streetwear scene and, Pac Div and Teron and A. Omari and You and I and Dom Kennedy and all of that stuff, as well as like Nip, rest in peace to Nipsey, what the run that he went on to culminate to where he got to before his, his untimely death, rest in peace, you know what I'm saying? To TDE, right? As a unit, to Brain Feeder as a unit, to Odd Future as a unit. You know what I'm saying? You can keep just going on and seeing all of the influences now. Louis Cole now, you know what I'm saying? Like they just no one's put it together, but LA has been whooping ass. And I'm not saying that because I live here now. Like musically, you can just kind of point across the spectrum of this urban music and be like, damn, at every point they had something for us. Thundercat being wild. You know what I'm saying? Like YG even. You can look at YG's ascendance during the decade. You know what I'm saying? And that's included in that too. So when you talk about soul music in last decade, is this the best album?
From LA. What are you saying?
From LA, yeah.
Gotta be up there.
Or
yeah. What else is up there?
Or Sir's albums. Sir's albums.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else.
Wait, can I give a shout out to Tiffany Goucher though? Because Tiffany Goucher.
Yeah, come with it. Come with it. Tiffany Goucher, Alex Isley.
Love her.
Who's in
Alex
the
Isley?
Oh, shit.
Who else is in that? Yeah.
King.
Ooh, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
down.
that's a good one. Yeah, but
That's
like, the King, but did the King album really? I mean,
it does. It wasn't.
It's good to be samples, but I don't know if it's too alone.
King, that's my pick.
King is dope though. King is dope. Talk about seeing someone live and them exactly hella dope. Is King.
Yeah, King is dope. I mean, we had to wait like 17 years to hear the same 3 songs, but I'm sorry.
I mean, shit, they perfectionists, but it's fine.
He went hard.
Yeah, I love him. I love King, but damn, that was
we opened for them their first DC show, man. Harris came through with the spaceship. She had the 360 Herbie set up with all the Moogs. She was like, Loki threatened me if I detune her stuff.
Oh man,
real deal.
That's the illest keys rig I've ever seen in real life.
We're talking about soul, like real soul. Like, I mean, that's
their DNA, man.
Yeah. I don't know who else I would put. If Alex Isley would drop an album,
right?
He needs to stop playing.
Yeah. There's only so many people that we can really count that. I mean, like there's a Mono Mari count in that conversation.
Yeah, a Mono Mari counts. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got slapped. I mean,
yeah, his album was
his world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this probably is the best. This probably is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, even put it this way, like even Tyler pivoted to singing and trying to do soul music. You know what I'm saying? Well, he could have just kept rapping and putting roaches in his video, and he would have been just fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he was like, no, I want to show you guys that like I aspire to be like this really dope music that has influenced me, where I'm getting Roy Ayers on songs. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's, you know, that was kind of my question about this album. Like, is this the pinnacle? Is this the mountaintop for that era of music?
You might be right, man. It might be, because I don't know what the competition is. We just named everything.
Yeah, the fact that I like personally, I can't even think of anything to compete with it. That like it probably just stay on the top, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to let this be the only reason why, because I have a bad memory. So I'm like,
you're trying to look it up, right? I like that.
I've been looking it up, and I'm like, I can't find it.
Who else is on the list? The Aged Brothers, Inc., Teen Inc., now Inc. No World.
Oh yeah,
Ink is Ink, but would you put Ink in that category though? Because Ink is fire, but I don't know.
That Nowhere record gets spins, bro.
But would you put it in like a soul-ish category though? Because that shit is dope, but like I don't know if I put it in that category with them.
I mean, it's more, if we're making this separation between R&B and soul, it's R&B.
Yeah, that album is.
But I think this Internet album is R&B too.
Yeah, I guess if we're keeping open in it, Ink is fire.
Haley, I want to say thank you for mentioning that, and here's the reason why. Because we're forgetting some groups too that are not from LA, but one is from LA, but one is not from LA, but the music was very a part of this scene, which is Quadrant, right? Like they spent so much time here after that first album to get into that.
The lead singer did work with it too.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Quadrant, and then also Sunny Moon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they were kind of a lesser Quadrant.
Say it again?
No, nothing.
What, no,
you said that so under your breath, bro.
No,
we're not on the call. You can say it loud.
Sunny Moon was kind of a, you know, it's like the GoBots of Quadrant. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's how I remembered. I haven't heard it in a minute.
Oh my God!
I haven't heard it in a while. I gotta re-listen. I gotta re-listen to that shit. I don't know.
That's right. It's hard to hear the whole project.
I gotta run them back. I gotta run them back.
Run it, man.
I'm with you on that.
Okay. I'm just saying. I got to run it back.
That was amazing.
I'm gonna start using that go.
It's too good, man. I can't go
Robots.
Damn, boy.
Wow.
Damn.
A mighty robot.
Right.
Somebody from TDE is gonna come get you, boy, because
I just
you know that's her camp. She fuck with you tough too.
I gotta run those back.
Actually, Anna Wise's tape was really fire.
She's dope, man. She's
Yeah,
dope.
but
Like,
Anna
Halo,
Wise,
that song with John Babb. Woo.
Yeah. Oh, well, she dates John Babb.
Yeah.
They tape they did is dope. She's dope.
Halo made the comment that remember he was recording this. He was like,
Actually, just now realizing that I'm recording.
It's on YouTube. Oh shit.
Yeah.
All love.
I'm gonna edit it too,
yeah, you're gonna have to edit this one, bro, for real.
It's cool,
Edit
Anna.
that part.
We cool, Anna. Don't worry.
Hey, edit that part about Kelly South that I said because I need my catering. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, man, I just want to say I love this album, and again, like the thing that's really cool about it is its diversity in sound and it's being cohesive. That's one of the best things I love, where like the album the songs can have all these different energies, but it is a cohesive experience. It's so fucking hard to do.
It's an album.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why I like DJ Quick album. It was all one thing, sound wise. To bring it all the way back, that shit sounded like one album, but like how this does.
Yeah, I think they're two perfect albums to bookend each other. They're both LA. They're both very concise in the way they present themselves, and they're very LA. You know?
All right, I want to steal a question for this one, but like, so I asked everybody what's their favorite track off of this album, but what do you think is the sleeper off this album?
Sleeper.
Drop it in the chat. Damn, okay. I see you. I see you, Juan. I see you.
What about? I do want to hear from Josh, because I think Josh, you were saying that this is a first listen for you. For me, I kind of mixed the first two together just because I heard those kind of simultaneously. So my experience is a little different than everyone else's, but maybe you could speak on yours as being a new listener to the album.
When I first listened to it, I was like, why ain't this shit on like Black Lightning? You know what I'm saying? It has a tone to it, and the delivery is just so relevant and smooth. You know what I mean? It's like this shit. Their music needs to be in scores and things that represent our culture, because some people, like it or not, that sound, having a lesbian or whatever, you know what I'm saying, she identifies herself as, having that type of singer, and where having a singer where brothers can understand that perspective, like Wiz was saying. I just sat and just listened to it as like kind of like one big song in a sense, because it was so new to me. But like in terms of the artist Sid and how she sounds, I feel like the band itself really supplemented and put her in the forefront, similar to Raphael Saadiq or Keith Sweat. You know what I'm saying? About people that found their voice and perfected it. They don't have to sang like we was talking, like brothers was talking about earlier, but it's just perfect. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like their music should be more into our culture. So that's pretty much how I feel. We should be seeing it on everything. Like I said, Black Lightning. Hell, they should have did a song like like segments. You know what I'm saying? You could put their music in the segments, any part of that series and stuff like that. So I just feel it's relative, new, and it's just in your face. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's funny you say that. It's funny you said that, because it made me think about the fact that Girl was on Insecure, but they used the 1500 or nothing version. And like Insecure has become like the new like black music curation, like what's hot in LA, especially. Insecure has become that space. I don't remember if it was like season 1 or season 2, but they used like the internet joint, but they had the 1500 or nothing version, which is also very LA. So like I think the culture gets it, but like to your point, they could definitely use it in other spaces.
Paul, I'm glad you mentioned that because like going back to the conversation about like Sid being a vocalist, I feel like the 1500 or nothing version is sung better, but the groove and the vibe to the internet
yes
way better.
Yeah,
you know?
it doesn't hit the same at all.
Yeah, even the instrumentation on 1500 or nothing, because it sounds like, I mean, whether it was recorded in a studio or not, it sounds like it's like live at like a neo soul cafe kind of situation. But like I still prefer.
Well,
that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the actual scene. Is they're like actually like at a club and like 1500 nothing is like playing in the background, and like 1500 nothing is dope. Like it's not to take anything away from them, but it's like
100%.
Yeah, it's not the same.
All right, peace, Haley.
Don't talk bad about 1500.
Yeah, it's all love for 1500 and nothing, but it definitely doesn't hit the same when they do their cover of Girl. But it was funny that was like the version they used for Insecure versus like the actual joint.
To Josh's point. No, go ahead.
No,
you were saying something? I was going to say to Josh's point that I think for all of the interviews that different artists from our future talked about their influences and the things that influenced them that really sparked in my mind what they could be about, this album achieves it. This is the album that I feel like, to Josh's point about it being more in our culture, that, you know, in 15 to 20 years from now, all the mothers with their septum rings gonna be vacuuming their houses, playing this shit for their kids.
That might be a thing. That might be real. I also want to be critical of one more thing on this album, though, if I may. And it's more visual. I just never was a fan of the album cover. Like I feel like it could have. It just doesn't do the music justice. Like, like for example, when you look at the Girl video, I mean, like that's kind of what I would imagine for.
You know, I feel like Purple Naked Ladies' cover should have been Ego Trip's cover. In that regard.
I don't know. I feel like this is like getting to know them.
My bad.
Yeah.
I love this album. I love this album cover. Yeah,
I agree with Rainey because it's like you see everybody that is working on this album, everybody that's in the band, and then you just put it on and it's a blank canvas for you. You're not seeing like all these, there's not like some art that makes you think of the art. You see the band and you listen to the album, you're like, yo, those motherfuckers all did this shit.
Yeah.
I think
that's how I feel.
Those young black kids.
Right.
Yeah, I think contextually, like that's the case for the album. I would say contextually, that's probably why they did it. They've gone through multiple lineup changes with every album, and actually, Ego Death has like the visual with like the band, but the album after that, the most recent one, Hive Mind, is the same thing because they also had a different lineup. And I think it's more of an indication of like, hey, we're kind of a new band in a way. Like this is a new sort of sound because with every album, you also notice they change. I think it's more of like this is us versus like here's album art in the traditional sense we think of it.
Random question, but do you guys like Hive Mind over Ego Death, or will you guys talk on Hive Mind?
No, I like songs on it, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like
Hive Mind was dope. Like, I really don't know it that well as I know this one.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good album.
Hold on, is my shit.
You know what Hive Mind made me wonder? It made me wonder if now they're at a point where each member of the band is taking a lead sound, because Hive Mind sounds like it's heavily influenced by Steve Lacy.
It does.
Guitars are pushed way to the forefront.
His vocals, yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas, like, again, the diversity in Ego Death, pulling in the other producers, you know, having Fauntleroy, I love it. But you know, they got more introspective. That's a dope question, because again, I do like Ego Death more, but I had to come back to Hive Mind because Hive Mind actually hits exactly more to what Paul was saying, which is it's even more of a vibe. You know, it's even more of a vibe. Whereas like
It's
whereas
a
like
vibe,
Ego
it's a
Death,
different vibe. That's
it's a different vibe. But I think Ego Death, I'll say this: Ego Death, even though we call it a vibe, if you listen song to song, it's more about something. Like I was getting out of a relationship when this album dropped, and Something Missing was describing the exact situation I was in because I was older in that relationship, and I was like, damn, I was uncomfortable. I was like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's a breakup album. The whole album was a breakup album, pretty much.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's like it's good for like, say a little kid picks up this album and they see the cover and they see all the artists that are on the album and they know who's on the album, and then the little kid picks up Midnight Marauders and none of those motherfuckers are on that album. It's just hella different people.
Mike, you disappointed because you didn't hear shorter.
I was like, where's Souls of Mischief at?
All right. I want to ask y'all a question though, too. Name other bands, black bands. Name the other black bands in this era.
Phony People.
Like this era right now.
Phony People is literally the only one.
Phony People, the Internet.
Man, we got
Black
no bands.
Radiohead.
Are you counting Terrace Martin and stuff?
Yeah, you can do like all of you can do all of their bands. They got like 8 different bands.
But like a band that has a name that's like a name like
yeah, can you do like R plus R equals like R plus R equals?
I'm not talking about Voltron. I'm not talking about Voltron.
They be forming, they be using each other one outfit all the time.
Yeah. I'm not asking for the Justice League. I'm talking about who is, you know,
like a real band like UB40. No. Don't fuck with. It's getting late. I'm going for my quick jokes. I'm
sorry. Red, you know red wine slap. Come on, bud. Like,
you should have never let him get away with that shit. We should never let the way you do the things you do. Like we should have put a stop to that.
Hey, you know they be on them cruises jamming to that shit.
Oh,
boy.
yeah.
They be on the deck, red wine, and then Young MC come out during the dinner time. You know what I'm saying? Doing you know, just bust the move. You know what I'm saying? And they be coming from the buffet. You know what I'm saying? Dancing to that Young MC. You know that's how it be on them cruises though.
Are we talking all black? Oh,
you said all black.
Yeah,
talking all black though.
Hey, Davey. I mean, I guess right. Who was her?
That's the last decade. I would just.
But like
Jay Davy is like Gangstar. You know what I'm saying?
So are you saying? But wait, are you saying like all black bands, right?
Yeah, or black and brown. I mean, not
I would
all
say
black
like,
because even
like
even Frankie Beverly and Maze have Philip Wu. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, because I was gonna say like Khruangbin is not. There's a black person in Khruangbin, or like there's a black person in like Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Like there's like these bands that have black people in them.
Primarily black. Yeah, primarily black.
Then we ain't got nothing. Sorry.
Yeah, this is tough.
Yeah, Free Nationals, but is anybody besides?
There you go. Tap.
Yeah, they're majority black.
Well, that's a good one though.
That's a good one.
They only have like 2 black people.
But they only have like 4.
That's a
half black.
They jammed though. They jammed them.
They passed the paper brown. They passed the paper bag test. That's all that matters.
Oh, there's that shit. There was a band when Drea was doing when Darling Chuck was doing Battle of the Bands for Afro Punk. There was this black punk band that was
You talking about Grips? What's the name?
No. I forgot what they were.
All black band, we don't need to know, right?
Shit.
Yeah.
They ended up winning that shit.
What about Salt? I know we don't really know. I know Cleo Souls and Salt, but I don't know.
No, Salt is Salt is again that's like the Justice League. You know what I'm saying?
Are they? Do you know who they are individually?
Oh yeah, I mean we know one of them personally, which is Kid Sister. Kid Sister is in.
Kid Sister's in Salt? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
But yes, not a black man.
So yeah, just to kind of put a bow on this too as well. Anyone have any last comments about the internet and this particular album?
Man, like,
great.
Yeah. I want them to do this. I know they all did their solo thing. I want this to come back.
Man, let's keep K Tronada in the mix.
Right. Yeah.
Let's keep K Tron in the mix. That's my guy right there. High five. Bonjour.
Black House. That's the band I was talking about. It's these young kids. They're a punk band, but they're really dope. Black House, but house like Bauhaus.
But it's a band.
It's a band. It's not a house. It's a black band called Black House.
You got me stuck on that question. I'm still thinking about it.
And the thing is, it's not. That's what makes this group special. I asked that because I just wanted to give us context for how special what they achieved with this album is and how special they are as a group.
Damn, Wiz. That's great.
In 2000, it was 108 Killers and the High Rollers.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so Haling, you said you wanted to put a bow on it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a little closeout question. Anyone have a closeout question for this one?
Yeah, what's a black band other than
I mean, King, do they count? They don't, because it's a producer playing all the shit and a backing. It's just like a producer.
The Kings is like they like the Supremes with what's his name that did the Wall of Sound is actually in the band.
Oh yeah, the one who killed people, right?
Phil Spector is actually in the band. Yeah, that's what King is.
So how about this? Who's the star of the internet? Who's the person that you want to see? That's the most impressive person.
I mean, it's
like solo
or
yeah, who would you want to see a solo project from out of the people from this album?
It's almost.
I mean, we've seen a few.
Yeah, it wasn't a good question. I know.
Yeah, Steve is by far probably the most talented in the group.
Just overall, right? Because he can sing, he has the instruments, guitar, the bass. I appreciate the bass so much in all their tracks.
Yeah, I think
what
I really like
on his album, and then his production on for Raven Lene and
who?
Goldlink.
Raven
Lene. Yeah.
You said
who is it?
Production?
Yeah, his production for Raven Lene and Goldlink.
It's really good.
And he did those beats on his phone and shit.
Who was this? Who you saying again?
Steve Lacy.
All right.
Steve Lacy. Okay.
But I will say though that like Sid's solo joints are like really good though. Like they're not like internet caliber, but they're still very good.
I didn't think
and her like
she put out her whole solo album and there's not one track.
Really, I don't think it's as good as the internet at all. But I think it's like it's like solid to me. Like it's like I can listen to this, but it's not the internet.
I definitely think it's spotty. Like it's not the same thing, but there's a couple not. But yeah, it's not the internet. I want the
no.
I think they're at the beginning of something still, because I think it's going to be exciting to see where they go next. You know, Patrick Page also has solo music out as well too. I've definitely found a couple of slaps out there randomly by him. You know, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
The standout for me is always going to be Sid. Man, Sid is amazing, and I think whether she's with this group of people or not, I do think she's going to continue to flourish.
As long as she's got good people around her, or talented people around her.
Because I'm looking at like kind of the breakdown of the album. Oh wait, maybe I'm looking at the wrong album. Hold on 1 second. And I'm like, she's not really on the behind the scenes. Like she provides the vocals, but in terms of like the writing and the musicianship behind the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she wrote on every song, but she's not a producer on the songs.
Mm-hmm.
Either way.
I can see how that works.
So yeah,
I really wanted Salt to be an all black band though. I had in my mind.
You wanted Salt to be an all black band?
Yeah.
Wait, Cleo is what is she like?
What is she? She's not. I mean, I don't know what she is.
She's not A1 white. She's not like, you know what I'm saying? She's something, but she's some kind of European like. Yeah, she's definitely yeah. But the producer, do you guys? I don't know what. I think his race is black though.
Mm-hmm.
What Michael? What? What's his name?
What, Kiwanuka?
Yeah, isn't that the main dude?
Nah,
Salt?
Somebody
No,
else.
it's not.
He's
It's
dope,
not.
but yeah, I
That's
don't
not
think
the
he's
main
Salt.
So I'm thinking of wrapping this up, but I did want to mention one thing. So the reward, I guess, for sticking with the group is that I send everybody the what do you call it, the Google Doc, so you can add more albums to the list. And basically, the way I choose albums is that I do a random number selector, and I choose off of that list. So, are you guys familiar with the categories, the new, vintage, and mature?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are all familiar with that. Okay. Yeah. So I just sent the Google Doc, the Google spreadsheet in the chat. So check that out, and if you can, add your name and add a couple of the fields in the bottom of the doc.
It's telling me it doesn't exist.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, really?
Yep. Send a broken link.
Oh, here, I'll send it because I have it open.
How about that? Oh yeah, it does. Shit. Sorry about that.
Selling wolf tickets.
Yeah, Cleo
Oh,
is half Jamaican.
Okay. See.
I'm tripping.
You know,
I'm sending the.
I mean, hey,
Miss
there's
Cleo.
many ways. You know.
Jay.
Calling me now.
So one thing I wanted to say, do you guys want to do the album do the album decision for next one now, or do you guys want to just
let's do it now? Let's do it now.
We're already here.
But Randy, since you're new, if you want to put some stuff in right now.
Yeah, definitely take a couple minutes. I want everyone who's new to take a couple minutes and put some albums in. One thing I was talking to Wiz about is that so this is the third one. So all three, we've done like pretty heavy LA albums. So for the next one, I kind of want to try to at least do something that's less LA centric. And then also the last three, they're all been albums from 2015. So I want to also try to do an album that's like maybe 2 years old, you know, at the oldest. So if it's an album if it's another 2015 album, then I'll roll again. So I want to try to make the next one a little bit newer. So hopefully y'all understand that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's good for diverse sake, you know. So because music is so varied, you know what I'm saying. So we definitely want to make y'all to make suggestions of y'all influences from that, you know, also come from other places. You know what I mean? So yeah. You have the number selector?
I do. So I'll give y'all about 5 minutes to put some albums in. And if you already put some albums in, you can put a couple more too. So the more we have, the better. So.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, I see you with the ghost face. Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
Somebody hit me on
Sour Soul
Instagram
too.
right
Yo,
now.
I added Sour Soul. That album is fucking incredible, yo.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite albums of the last 10 years.
Someone I don't know just replied to my post about this album discussion club, and they said, "I feel the internet is very overrated, primarily because their lyrics are so terrible."
Should have came in here.
Right.
Should have came in here and said that.
Say that in the game.
You should have said, "This isn't the space to discuss this. The space is
This is a safe space."
I say that now.
Yeah, my DMs are a safe space. Yeah, unless you're a sweetie.
Sweet.
I know nothing about Saweetie. I'm sorry. I don't.
Hey.
I just don't know.
Be careful.
Hey, that's my cousin Shout.
Gabrielle Union's cousin.
Yeah, I just
Filipino. That's all I say.
It's one of those people you just hear about all the time, but you just never really took that extra step.
I mean, she graduated from USC. I used to follow her back in the day because she was a dope, like, just lyricist, and
Yes.
I was personally like just a little disappointed that she came out this way, but you know, it is.
Man, and Randy, I was right there. I was following her when she was at USC.
Yeah.
She would always be rapping, and when she was like in the beginning. And man, you know, congratulations, Quavo.
Oh shit, Paul,
Congrats.
no joke. I just listened to that album I can't pronounce that band, but the Control del Mundo. Man.
Yeah. How does anyone know how to say that, by the way?
Khruangbin.
Khruangbin?
Mm-hmm.
I got it good. Let me see.
Let's see.
That
That's a
Paul,
great. That's a
you on
great
mute, bro.
suggestion. Man, I love that Phony People album. That's a great suggestion. Mike went with Temperamental. You went with Temperamental. Huh? You don't want to go with
Walking Wounded? No,
Walking Wounded, boy.
Temperamental is my shit. Temperamental is my shit.
You know, Walking Wounded is my one though.
Oh, track. If you could fill out field 16.
16.
Because you only have the new album for that one.
Yeah. This one.
Yeah. That one right there.
Duncy. That Duncy album is crazy, boy.
The mature and the vintage.
Yeah, if you could fill out those fields too.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure
I'm
out.
telling y'all, that album that Jason, that Trackademics listed, that album goes stupid for real. It's like I don't know how. It's like a modern, like it's like Afro beat, but it's like I don't know how to describe that shit. There's so much shit going on.
It's
with
the
that
future.
It's the future. Yeah, it's like you can pack your bags. We moving to Africa. Okay. Love that album for real.
Let's see.
I gotta list something else too. Outkast, AT-Aliens, Bandana.
Right. Fantastic Volume.
What's that? Colors. What's that?
I don't remember the name of the artist, but it's
that
kind of
Jamie XX?
No, she's dope. It's like he's a African artist.
Josh Love Deluxe. I think that's 89, right? Or is that 90? No, you're right. It is 90.
No one has Madlib Blue Note on here. Is that on here?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm gonna put that on here.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What's where he remakes all the Blue Notes?
Yeah.
Slaps? Oh yeah, that's when he gets to was it Montara?
Yeah.
Woo! You know what
I
I'm saying?
think Love Deluxe came out 90.
It's 92. It's 92. 92. Yep, 92. You know, it's Sade Hive over here, man. Big Sade Hive for real. If anybody wanted to, I got Sade unreleased and B-sides. If anybody wanted,
of course.
Drop the link.
You just put that in the chat.
Okay, I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop it right now. Just remember to download it. Don't take it out the folder.
Cool. Some say
background image is too funny.
Oh yeah, that's actually my actual college dorm room.
Oh really? That's dope.
Yeah,
it was just funny
like
to see your shadow for a second.
Oh yeah, like
yeah.
Yeah, I need a light in front of me. There we go.
So I'm gonna do the selection at 8:55. So 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Or do you guys need more time?
I'm trying to think of some.
Let's do 8:57. 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, like just think of albums that you could stream on Spotify or something. Something that's like accessible. And if you can't, you got to provide the link for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the link to the Sade unreleased and B-sides. It has Killer Blow on there. She was in this movie in the early 80s. The band played in this movie. They did like this jazz song.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just going to...
And the Mad Professor remix of Love Is Stronger Than Pride. Woo! That's gonna make you wish you was at the beach though.
Yo, Rainy, I appreciate you putting Channel Orange after I shitted on Frank Ocean's vocals.
Yeah,
I love that album though. I love the album. I love the album. No, okay. So the reason that I always hit on his vocals was his first live performance was Pink Matter, I think, on I want to say it was Jimmy Fallon, and his vocals are so incredibly bad.
And that's the thing is like, can
But
we
he's
hold
dope.
artists to those like that one experience that we had of them, right? Does it?
I've seen him a few times outside of that. It's not good live. It's just not. But he's dope. Like I love that album. Like I think that's like a incredible album. But
Channel Orange is my second favorite Future
I
release.
literally can play that. Yeah.
Like I love that
album.
I love that album. I fight for Frank Ocean for people to just consider him an alternative artist. Period.
Yeah, I got a lot of like Frank Ocean Miguel like arguments because the Miguel like their OG album dropped at the same time.
Yeah, you know the thing that makes me want to pull my hair out, and I don't, it's not that long. Is when people was comparing Frank Ocean to Chris Brown, and I was like,
oh, who was doing that?
Remember Chris Brown when it was doing that? Remember when he was like,
well, they had a beef, but I wasn't comparing the music.
I mean, but that's what I'm trying to say. The public, I'll say everyone here are not civilians. You know what I'm saying? Civilians was comparing the music. Like, okay, it's 8:55. It's okay if you don't have anything in there by now, just know that you have the link and come back in if you want to give it time. Because, Josh put that Larry June and Cardo. Okay. You got to put which album, though, bro, because they got a couple together. You talking about the last one?
The newest one.
Yeah, okay, perfect, yeah.
Yeah, let me just try to think of
a track that had that Tidra Moses, that Complex Simplicity. That is a fucking classic.
Classic.
I love that album.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's such a good album for real.
That's like the perfect hood R&B. That just that shit is.
It's actually the best.
It's when people think Mary J. Blige is. It's like no. Tidra Moses is actually like the hood R&B singer.
Oh no! Tap is about to sign off. Like,
I love her.
I would say this: you can't compare Tidra to Mary. It's not fair to Tidra.
Tidra, Mary, and Tidra's actually the homie. She's a lot of our homies in this chat. Like, she works closely with Track.
So she'll come here and.
Well, no, I say that because people think Mary J is like the hood R&B singer, and I'm like, no, Tidra is, because Tidra's a gangster on every fucking record she makes. Mary's heartbroken on every record. Tidra's a fucking.
I'm gonna say this, Paul. I'm gonna say this, Paul, because how old are you again? What are you? 31, 32?
32.
I'm telling you, when we were younger, when Mary was brand new, that's what she was. She was.
Yeah, but she was weak. But she's heartbroken on every record. Like it doesn't. I think I understand the age. Like you were in it in the moment. I'm telling you what she's actually saying on the record.
Yeah.
She takes an L on every record. I'm like, Mary, you're not. Mary ain't gangsta
be
shit.
happy.
But that first album she wasn't on that. I'm telling you, her first album she wasn't on that.
Mary's the prototype for shit every R&B.
That's like saying that. That's like saying that Outkast didn't start weird. No, go ahead.
No, the beats are hard. The beat she has that she defined, like she created the hip hop R&B situation, but like in terms of the lyrics itself, she's usually taking an L. Like Heartbroken Mary J is our favorite Mary J. Whereas Tidra's just like, fuck these niggas. Like I'm not stressed over y'all. So I love Tidra.
I'm telling you, that first Mary J album, first two Mary J albums, she embodied that. But you're right about her.
I grew up on those first two because my mom would play them all the time. That's how I knew my parents were going through shit. I was like, oh damn.
Yeah, I appreciate the Smino.
Let me see. Hold on.
I'm about to put Smino's second album up in there too.
Oh, that's actually really great too. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, man. All right, cool.
14K. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, is that Grant Green album? Can you stream that?
I think
it came back to streaming pretty recently.
Okay, word.
It wasn't on there for a while.
Oh, that Donny Hathaway. Ooh, wee.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do one more. I'm try to do one more.
I know, me too.
Let's see. Stevie, it's easy.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I'm so Rainey, we actually did choose your weapon.
Oh, you did? I see it at the top.
Yeah, we
I
did
did
choose
like
your weapon.
Control F, but I'm doing it after I type it in.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. It's hard for me to pick. I'm trying to pick another 3, but it was hard for me to pick my vintage album. I settled on Soul to Soul's first album, but man, I am struggling, you guys, because I love so much music. Huh?
I mean, I feel the same way. It's too much. You just got to put one.
Yeah.
It's true.
Don't struggle. Don't struggle.
But it's like the pressure, because it's like you'd be like, I need to put a Prince album, and then you end up putting the fucking Batman soundtrack.
But Scandalous is on that.
Yo, put the Batman soundtrack on there, man. That's all good.
Yeah, that album slapped though. Mike got that Hard to Earn on there, boy. That's woo.
That Bat Dance.
The future. The future is the shit.
I got one.
Hey, that movie was crazy though when it first came out in the theater.
Oh, it's still, watch that shit on I think that shit's on like Prime. That shit is, it's like he's sane when he's Batman and he's insane when he's Bruce Wayne. He's just fucking bonkers.
Right.
And all the prints. Ugh.
Right,
I'm stuck on these old albums.
It's good because we're putting plenty of the new.
Good choices, man. Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, wait, what? Did I do that twice? Wait, you put that Bobby Hutcherson too, Halo?
Oh no! It's just auto filled in. So I'm trying to find something real quick.
You know what I didn't get to say is the when we were talking about LA and all that, how much good music they have. Like, man, I want that shit for the Bay so bad. I want this next decade where it's just like where we going crazy. I love that. It's just the Aries in me, just competition. I just want to like where it's just like every city, somebody just hella saucy from Ladonia have an album where it's just like undeniable, hella dope, and then you know what I'm saying, and Drew and have, you know what I'm saying, and then we have I just want that shit hella bad for real.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want us all to be like. You feel me, one? You feel me, bro? Like
they will. We had that run.
All right, see you.
All right, you guys. I'm gonna hop off. It was nice meeting y'all.
Nice to meet you, Rainey. Have a good one.
Good to meet you. I'll let you know.
We'll tell you if one of yours get picked. Are you following us on IG?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the selection right now. So if you got 2 more minutes. All right. So the new album will be, let's see, number 29.
Hurrah!
Okay,
Riding in cars with girls.
Gotta get 108K up in here then.
Man, we got. We should pick something else. Like,
I mean, look, I got hella. Look, I have hella selections. We can pick the one on top of that or the one under it.
I don't want to say nothing, but I was like.
All right,
I'm just saying we're biased because we all worked on this.
But it's not like we're gonna jump anybody else for talking shit.
Well, the thing is, like, I love 108, but I'm like, that's very like y'all. Like, I know that's like.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike, you could pick the one above or the one below. Which one?
We're gonna go with Tori Moi. Anything in return.
Let's do that.
That's a good one.
All right.
That's what's up. I'll ask my brother to see if he could come into the chat.
I'll say he lives in Berkeley, right?
Yeah. My brother directed his video for Ordinary Pleasures.
Oh, dope. Okay, so for the mature album, it is number 7.
Ooh, let's see.
Brian, we don't want to do 2 in a row. So
pick again, yeah.
40.
40?
There, it's not there.
Right.
One more.
Let's do the blue notes. I'll move my number My 37 down.
Okay, this
Can I
one
do
right here. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, let's do that. So that's
Go.
just
Okay, good one.
Okay,
That's a good
and
one.
then vintage. Let's see, how many do we have? We got 45. There's a lot of skips, so it might be a blank one. So 45. Number 28.
That's me again. That's Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Go with someone else.
Okay, let's
I do want to do that one at some point.
42. So, oh, that's me. Yes.
Wait. I think we should pick again. I think we should pick again. We should get someone else that's not one of us because we went that first week.
Okay. Damn, I want to do Cal Jader too.
I love Cal Jader. You know, he's SF State alumni, Gator. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, you guys don't want to do that one? All right, let's do it. Number 3, I think.
Okay, for 3. Let's see.
See, look what you did. Look what you did. Look what you did.
Come on, man.
Look what you did, bro.
No,
we were in a great space, man.
No, time out. Here's what I want to say. Look, one last time we'll pick again because we did Janice last time. So
we
just
did.
pick again.
Also, I don't want to listen to some fucking Guns N' Roses, man. Come
What
on.
we do? What of hers did we do?
We did. Oh, we didn't do Janice. You're right. We didn't do Janice. So we have to do that.
Right, we're trying to get out the good.
See, look what you did.
We really don't. We don't.
I know. That's I'm with Paul. We really don't. I'm with Paul. We really don't.
But like, she's not here, so like,
It's fine. There's a lot of bias in this room. I love
not to expose my character, but
I don't matter.
I was on
for that reason. No,
I was on my GNR shit too. I was on my GNR shit.
Don't make me listen to Guns N' Roses.
I just
it's an LA album. We can't talk about it.
Okay. How about this? How about this? We'll do one more spin. We'll do one more spin. If it's blank, or if it's blank, we'll go back to Cal Jader. How is that? If it's blank, we just go back. Because we can't be doing this shit all night.
Yeah.
Let's all right.
Let's do it.
Yeah, for everything.
17.
If we land on some White Snake, I quit.
17.
Okay,
clear.
Let's go.
Clear.
Perfect. We got it.
Okay.
Amanda. Yeah.
I'm with that.
All right.
I'm with that.
All right. Let's do it.
Cool. So there it is. Those are 3.
Wow, that
That's
number machine doesn't work.
Nope.
What do you mean?
Have our biases.
All right, so check this out. So check this out. Y'all got the link. Please fill in the other spaces. Because and again, we're trying to make sure we have a good, diverse group of suggestions. So please fill them in.
Yeah, I think after three, you should be like you should reset. So like, if one of mine gets selected next week, I should be cool.
Okay.
Hey man, it's your thing.
I know. All right, it's my shit. So Guns N' Roses then. Let's go. Yo, if you use your illusion, man, I could do that.
Paul is like, I'm not fucking with none of it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you later,
thank you, Rainey.
All right, Rainey. All right.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I think that's it. And anything else you all want to talk about, or wrap?
Man,
Jason, look at Jason got the DVD. Like,
turn your background off. We can't see it. It's like blue screen.
I know.
Didn't this happen? This happened before, didn't it? Deja vu. All right. Well, anyway, I appreciate all y'all, man. And next month,
great, y'all.
Same thing, man. I appreciate y'all.
All right, y'all. Stay safe.
Thanks for having me.
Stay
Safe. Talk to y'all soon.
Look at that view. Look at that view behind Juan. That view looked fire though.
Yeah, for real.
That's crazy.
All right.
All right, y'all.
All right, ciao.
All right, ciao.